This is Monty in the Morning, the show Phoenix Magazine readers voted #1 talk radio show in Arizona.
#1 during your morning commute.
#1 whenever news breaks during your day.
And #1 whenever and wherever you want to talk sports.
Now it's time for Monty in the Morning.
Hey, yo, man. How the heck are you? See, we're back into that phase here on the Monty Show where, we talk Utah Jazz all morning long. And then when we're done talking Jazz, we're going to talk Utah Jazz, but only after we're done coughing all over the place. Then we'll get back to talking Utah Jazz.
Right.
Pretty amazing that the Utah Jazz are leading the news cycle on a pretty regular basis. I can't remember the last time this town was this lit on the Jazz. But, hey, when you win the way the Utah Jazz have, you're going to get fans excited. They're in Atlanta tonight. Will they win tonight? We'll talk about that. By the way, what is the magic number for the Utah Jazz to make the NBA playoffs? Playoffs? Yeah, we're talking about playoffs with the Utah Jazz. We'll talk about that coming up. As well, there is new information on the Pac-12 today.
New intel.
Is the Pac-12 in limbo? I think it really is. And I don't know that the Big 12 is in any better of a situation. So we'll talk about that. We got to talk about this BYU situation with Pacific. I don't know if you guys heard this. Pacific canceled a volleyball match this week with BYU in Provo, citing the Duke volleyball allegations. And I don't understand it. So I want to get into that, and I want to see, hey, you know what? Maybe I'm making far too much of it. Maybe I'm not making enough of it. I don't know. But this show is presented by the Advocates, UtahAdvocates.com. Very much every day, all day, I tell you to go to the Advocates, UtahAdvocates.com. Plain and simply put, they are the best injury attorneys in the business.
If you've been injured in a car accident, even if it wasn't your fault, you still have to deal with the consequences, like overdue medical bills, car repairs, and worse, insurance companies that try their hardest not to pay their fair share. No need to worry, though. The Advocates are here to help.
Yeah, let the Advocates fight for you, UtahAdvocates.com. Let's get to work on the Utah Jazz, and you know that they are in Atlanta tonight, and the Atlanta Hawks are actually a favorite in this game, which is almost surprising that the Hawks are a 3.5-point favorite. 226 is the number. 5:30 tonight in the ATL. I expect the Jazz to win this game and pretty much every other game they play this year, and it feels good, right? We talked about that yesterday. Yesterday was the day where we talked about that it feels good to be a Jazz fan. Well, let's talk about what it's going to take to get this team into the playoffs. They've played 12 games. They have 70 games left. And if I had to put a magic number on it, out of 70, Jake, I think they have to win at a minimum 40 more games to guarantee themselves a playoff. Is that right on? Is it too high or is it too low?
No, I mean I think it's pretty spot on. You look at last year's standings and the last team here, you know, to avoid the playoff or the play-in was the Nuggets at 48 wins, right, in the 6th seed. And so to me, like, to really book it and to really kind of guarantee that you avoid the play-in, you want to be at 50 wins. That's kind of that benchmark number that really sort of solidifies your ability to stay out of the 7th seed or below, you know? And so to me, it's like, I look at this and I say, like, yeah, like, you look at the winning percentage of that Nuggets team who had the 6th seed. They had a 585 winning percentage for the season last year. And so the Jazz, to get to that 50-win number, need to be anywhere between, 58 to 60% as a team. You got to be right in that window. So when I look at this, I say, okay, if we break this down just even on a weekly basis to kind of put this into perspective about what this team has to do, if you think about the idea that this team, to get to 50 wins, probably needs to win 3 out of every 5 games that they play on a weekly basis. To me, that is a big ask for this team. I feel like you got off and you are still, out to a hot start here. But when you talk about consistency over an 82-game period, asking a team to win 3 out of every 5 contests that it plays is a bigger ask than it seems. I mean, that is a lot. That said, I don't think it's beyond them. I just think it requires, obviously, that you stay healthy. And I also think the trade deadline will largely impact whether they're able to continue this. Because my biggest concern with the deadline right now today is that you have a really nice feel about this team. You have a really nice vibe with this team. And so if you were to trade, let's just say Jordan Clarkson as an example, how does that affect what you're doing, and who would you get back, and how does that impact the group? Because that's one of their strengths. They're really good together. So that is something that I would just keep in the back of your head with the trade deadline.
Well, and I think one of the things you like so much about the way this team is put together is that very clearly Danny Ainge and Ryan Smith are flexible. I mean, they've changed plans mid-motion, if you will, midstream several times. I mean, obviously we saw that with the moves in the summer, their ability to get the best deal, not from the Knicks for Donovan Mitchell, but from Cleveland, that turned out to be a transformative, franchise-shaping deal that brought you Colin Sexton and Lauri Markkanen, who's arguably your best players. So I don't know that the Jazz are locked into, trying to build for the summer. I could easily see, and as it was explained to me a couple of days ago, if there's a chance for us to make a deep playoff run, we're going to do everything we have to do at the deadline. I think it'll be interesting to see if they actually do that. I think they are in a position now. Obviously, you're only 12 games into the season, but you're in a position now where you can take the picks that you have and you can leverage those picks to add players to make you a better team. I can't see them really going out and making a splash for a superstar, but maybe they don't need that to win a playoff round or two. Maybe they don't need somebody like again, the guys that always come to mind are the Bradley Beals of the world. Maybe they don't need that to win a playoff series. But what I think you want to avoid is that awful place where you just make the playoffs, but you don't really lose enough to get as good a draft pick as you could possibly get. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean you're tanking. And I think one of the things we need to do when we talk about the Jazz is we need to stop using the word tanking. This team is not tanking. Full stop. That's it. It's over. This team's not tanking. They never have been, and under Danny Ainge, I don't believe they ever will be.
Facts.
So I think we need to stop talking about tanking because that's not happening. And my feeling is this team is not going to add a significant piece of talent until the summer. But if they're in a place where 50 wins is within reach, if they're in a place where they get Lauri Markkanen and Jordan Clarkson into the All-Star game and they're competing night in and night out and they're in a position where they can actually win a playoff series, I don't know how you don't go out and use those picks to add talent that you can control for multiple years. I, under no circumstance, believe that this Utah Jazz team should trade multiple draft picks to get a free agent to be. Jake, I think you have to be very measured and very careful about what you do at the deadline. But I think to answer the question specifically, when you look at the magic number, I think the magic number in the Western Conference this year is 44 wins. I think they have to win 44, essentially 44 games at a minimum. To secure a playoff spot, I think they have to win 48. To be lock solid into the playoffs, I think they have to win 48 games, which is 39 more wins. That's a lot of wins. You're talking about winning 58% of your games at that clip. That's a lot of wins. I don't know that that's possible for this team.
Yeah, I mean, and again, that's why I think that word that you use, control. You got to have control of the guys that you would potentially trade for, because if that point you made about being in what I call no man's land, where basically where this team was before the teardown, like where you're able to get to the second round of the playoffs, but you're definitely not a Western Conference Finals caliber team. Like, that's not where you want to be. But I think it's also important to say that, you can't come off of or just suddenly change the expectations for this team. You can't at the beginning of the season say, hey, they were tanking and they're going to just tear this thing down and they're going to be garbage and no expectations. And then through the first 10 games, when they smash those expectations and completely open your eyes to the idea that Danny Ainge wasn't lying when he said he's too old for a rebuild and he's too old to tank. And they're actually like serviceable and good, and like they're playing well over 500 basketball, obviously. I don't think we should step off of those preseason expectations. I think if you're Danny Ainge, you're loving this because you're saying, okay, great. We've got this stockpile of picks that I got from the different trades I made in the offseason. We're playing compelling basketball, which means the organization is making good money off ticket sales and merch and all that stuff that really matters to the long-term success of the organization. And all I have to do is go out at the trade deadline and figure out a guy that I can fit into this group, but I can also control for, I would say, 3 seasons. That would be ideal. If whoever you picked up, you could control for 3 more years. And so I look at this and I say, while this isn't a tremendously difficult thing for Danny to do, I do think there are some complexities to it. Like, in finding that guy, those guys don't just fall off trees. Those guys aren't just readily available where you can call up any team in the league and be like, hey, yeah, we like Tim Hardaway Jr., so cough him up, right? Like, that's not how it works. Like, obviously, teams are going to be calling Danny. Danny's going to work deals. And so to me, it's like, this is a very, while I feel like this team is rock solid, I feel like your path and your trajectory is very fragile. I feel like at the end of one phone call, the trajectory could have gone from 50 wins to like, a 200 team after the deadline if you make the wrong decision. And that's why I think I guess the word might be volatile. It's a volatile situation at the deadline, because if you make the wrong decision here, if you make a trade, if you get rid of, not that I think there's any situation where they would trade Lauri Markkanen, honestly, but like, let's say you did a big Lauri Markkanen deal, that would just rock this whole thing, So that's what I'm saying. It's not as easy as just like, oh, just go add a guy, just go find somebody. It's not that easy. And that's why I think, it's great that you have Danny, but I just want Jazz fans right now, like I've been saying, to enjoy the ride now, because you don't know what waits for you at the deadline.
Yeah, and I think that question of who you add is a big one. This is such an interesting place for the Jazz to be in. I mean, let's surmise that they're at, if you're at, 30 wins? If you're 30 and 12 at the halfway point of this season, I mean, the playoffs are clearly within reach. I mean, absolutely. How aggressive are you? Because I think, and I've spent a lot of time looking at this, when you get to 30 wins, I think is a critical determining factor of what you're going to do. Are you a 30-win team at the NBA trade deadline? Are you a 30-win team at the All-Star game? Are you a 30-win team in January? What does that mean for you? Because I think if you've won 30 games and you're into late January when you win your 30th game, I mean, you're cooking with gas at this point if you're the Utah Jazz. I mean, the world is your oyster, right?
Yep.
If you're 30 plus wins at the NBA trade deadline, I don't see how you're not aggressive. I really don't. And my tune has changed on this. A week ago, we were talking about that the Jazz need to be sellers at the deadline. But when you continue to excel at the level that they've excelled at, it's not a fluke anymore. You've played 12 games. This is not accidental. This is not just a hot start. This is no longer a trend. We're starting to see at this point of the season the demarcation lines forming. Yeah. Right? So I think if you're a Jazz fan, put the number 30 in your mind. When does this team get to 30 wins? Because if it's in late January, early February, you're gonna put your foot on the gas at the NBA trade deadline, which again I think is February 10th.
It is.
If by February 10th you've won, 30 games, if you're at the halfway point of your season, and I seriously doubt that you're 30 and 12. I seriously doubt that.
Yeah, because 12 wins would project you.
12 losses.
12 losses would project you, at the halfway point. I mean,
you're a 60-win team.
Yeah, you're talking about being, like a 1 or a 2 seed at that point. Like, that's like.
I can't see that.
I don't think, if I'm being honest, I don't think they have the defensive, ability to be a 12. Like the Suns last year were a 780 team, and they had 18 losses on the year, 64 wins. So, like, you look at something more realistic. If you're at 12 losses halfway through the year, you're looking at being the Grizzlies or the Warriors from last year, 26 losses, 29 losses, somewhere in that neighborhood. And I really feel like, again, defensively, that's where this team's bread and butter is handled, because you're basically saying with this team right now, hey, we're going to get stops, and then we're going to get out in transition. And because I really feel like Will Hardy's edict, and again, I haven't heard him say this, right? This is just all off of watching them play basketball. The edict is, hey, we're going to play great team defense. We're going to be really, really committed to team defense and team rebounding. That's going to be our priority. And then after we handle that on any given possession, we're going to look to outlet, and we're going to evaluate that choice. Like, hey, like I was saying yesterday, if you're like Atlanta tonight, if Atlanta is crashing the glass offensively and you pull down that board, you want to outlet that to like half court in one pass. You want to push that pace and try to get that easy bucket. So if they can stay committed to that philosophy, I think they can be somewhere between 20 and 23 losses. Like that to me, feels proper. But again, I'm just going to keep saying this because it's real world stuff. Like, injuries will happen. They will lose. They will lose 8 of 10.
Oh, the uncontrollables are absolutely what determines wins and losses. But the infrastructure you build to avoid those major potholes, I think, is a big one. And again, I sit here as we talk Utah Jazz on the Monty Show, presented by the Advocates, UtahAdvocates.com. I don't have a crystal ball. My guess is this is I still maintain 42, 43, 44 win team.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, you're going to be right on the line of, 6 or 7 in the West, in my opinion. And if that's the case at the deadline, there's a real good chance that you're a mid-20s team, that you're a 25 to 28 win team at the trade deadline.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's really good. I don't know. Like, I look at, I see a bunch of people saying, well, who should we go and get? And the answer is, I don't know that there's one guy that you can go and get. Like Rec One says, I like that idea of getting an all-star at some point. If the season is getting that good, what names come to your mind? Well, I mean, obviously the guys that you hear about all the time that are available are the Buddy Hields of the world.
Yeah.
Is Buddy Hield an upgrade?
Miles Turner has been rumored to be very available.
Miles Turner feels like a defensive upgrade, but I'm not going to feel like a fit. Buddy Hield, I think, is he an upgrade to Jordan Clarkson? Not really.
Lateral move, not an upgrade.
Yeah, not really. Yeah. No. And defensively, I actually like the effort that we're getting out of Jordan Clarkson. He's not he's not a bad defensive player, but he's not probably a plus defensive player.
If he can just make his assignment's life difficult, like, that's all he's got to do. You're not asking him to be, Patrick Beverly or PJ Tucker or like this great defender. All you're asking him to do is run him off his line a little bit. I
mean, you've got a top 30 player in Lauri Markkanen. So that's a guy that you can lean on. But if we're looking at numbers, guys like, does Kristaps Porzingis make you a better team?
No, that would be a mistake.
He doesn't make you a better team, and he makes a lot of money. So I look at the guys that I feel like would be available. I look at some of the Knicks, and I say to myself, well, what about Julius Randle? I don't know, does Julius Randle make you a better player? The Jazz, as I reported all summer long, I heard repeatedly, Danny Ainge has no affection or desire to add Julius Randle to this team.
Yeah.
That's not an option. I just don't know that there are guys out there. But when you have the volume of picks and you have the leverage that Danny has, you can make people do things they don't want to do.
Yeah.
So I certainly, you're not getting a top 20 player in the league. You're not getting, even if we go 10 through 20, you're not going to add a De'Aaron Fox to this team. He doesn't fit. He doesn't fit what you do, right? So you're not going to add that guy. You're not going to add a Pascal Siakam if the Raptors trade him. But right now where they are, I don't see them doing that. I look at like a Keldon Johnson from San Antonio.
Yeah.
I think he's, 22 years old? They're not trading Keldon Johnson where they are.
Yeah,
he's having a fantastic season. Like, I don't know that there's a top 20 guy right now that's even available to you.
Yeah.
So do you just stand pat? Do you go get a 3-and-D guy who you can say, okay, well, this will be our best perimeter defender? Because we know that if we're a 6 seed, if we look at the standings right now, and again, I know that we're projecting, but let's say the NBA playoffs started today. In the West, your matchup right now, let's go 1-8 per se, you'd be against the New Orleans Pelicans.
Yeah.
That's an incredibly difficult matchup, right? And by the time the season would be over, I mean, you'd be going against CJ McCollum. You don't really have a defender for CJ McCollum right now. Like, who's your
Mike Conley?
It's Mike Conley is probably but then who's going to match up with Herb Jones? Because again, I just will espouse the greatness of Herb Jones, and I know I'm the only one.
Yeah,
I feel like I am the only one in the world.
Casuals won't know that name, but he's a really good player.
I'm telling you, Herb Jones with the Pelicans is a stud. Yeah. I'm telling you that Zion Williamson right now is a real handful. Now, will he be healthy by then? I have no idea. Maybe he goes on a hot pocket run and gains 50 pounds again, and he's out for the year. I have no idea. Anyway. My point is,
said he'll go on a hot pocket run.
Yeah, I mean, those burns you get in your mouth from eating hot pockets, I mean, those will knock you out of a game.
Dude. Yeah, you're going to have to go on the injury report for a week.
You're out 6 weeks because you ate a hot pocket out of the microwave and you just couldn't. I mean, the smell was wafting into your orifice and you just couldn't wait. You picked it up and burned the crap out of your mouth. You're out 6 weeks.
Yeah.
You're out 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Should probably stop.
What are the people saying?
Mike Chase, first one in, says good morning. Terry also asked about my voice.
Yeah, how we doing?
You know what? It's fine when I'm not projecting. And we were just talking about this. Like, I'm sitting here before the show and we're laughing and joking. And I think I'm very proud of myself because as a loudmouth hot air balloon, generally, I talk a lot.
Right.
I have been very careful not to talk a lot because through this cold that I've had over the last week, I've felt my voice, that feeling you get like it's down here. It's down here where
deep in the bosoms.
Satan's just chilling with the flu,
Right.
That's right, T.
So I've been very careful. I've been taking my Dayquil. I've taken Dayquil twice a day, every day for like a week.
Right.
Crack, ice,
Boom, pow, NyQuil.
Right.
Like I've taken my NyQuil. I'm sleeping really well. Woke up at 3:51 again today. I don't know why. But my voice has just been a little weak. I was fine this morning, and then we go to start the show, and I'm like, hey, yo. And you get that death wobble.
Yes.
Let's see. Tony Cushing, good morning to the two best sports talk radio guys in Utah. You're going to start a fight. Thanks for all the insight on the Jazz team info and keep it up. You're the only hacks I listen to. Appreciate that. Kenai Johnson, good morning to you. I think the number is 37, maybe 40. The way they're playing right now is good basketball. I mean, listen, if we'd have told you a month ago that they're going to be 9-3 on top of the Western Conference, you'd have jumped for joy.
Mm-hmm. No,
right?
I think you would have called us stupid is what you would have called us.
I mean, you would have jumped for joy.
Yeah.
I think if we had told you that. So I think 37 to 40 is an interesting number. I do. Neville 93, good morning to you, sir. How's the baby? I have a quick question. Who do you think will be the all-star for the Utah Jazz this year? Well, right now I think it's Markkanen or Clarkson.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know that that's arguable. Forrest G says, morning, y'all feller. Pinky up. What's up? Raptor 88, morning, guys. What a way to wake up with a weather alert.
Hell
man.
Yeah, dude. Hell
dude,
yeah.
it is real out there. Like, again, I live in South Jordan.
Yeah.
So Jake comes to my house at 4:30. We get in my car and drive over to the Maverick Center.
After we've woken up all the neighbors and gone through the usual procedure.
Yeah,
right?
because your car is loud and annoying. But so we take Bangerter from South Jordan up to 31st, and it was a little treacherous this morning. It was raining. It was cold, windy. Like, it's coming.
You ever notice they don't put lights on Bangerter?
Yes.
Like, there's no lights on Bangor.
Yes.
So you're just going off of your headlights and everyone else's.
Yes. Let's see. Brett Robbins says, wow, I knew when I woke up there was a change in the air, and obviously Jake is feeling it too.
What does that mean?
I don't know. Salty Drunk says, morning, guys. Have a great show. Illert Ginick, what's up? If they win away game stretches, I'm a believer. Well, if you look at the Utah Jazz schedule, it is challenging. And I think this road trip that we're seeing coming up here, this is going to be an interesting stretch of games, because when you start looking at where the Jazz are, okay, so you're at the Hawks, you're at the Wizards, you're at the Sixers, back-to-back Wiz and Sixers.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, I'd be looking at Kyle Kuzma maybe as one of those guys that's available. So keep an eye on that. Then you come home for the Knicks and Suns before you go to Portland, the Clippers, back for the Pistons, Warriors, Suns, Bulls at home, Clippers at home to end November.
Yeah,
like
see,
this,
so like you're gonna know who this team is. Like you're gonna get a real good idea of just how good or how bad they are. Like you're gonna understand. Like, so we know they are capable of beating the Clippers, but like by the time they see the Warriors, are the Warriors back to playing good basketball, or are the Warriors still playing crap basketball? And that's the other thing that's kind of on my mind is like a lot of these, good teams are not playing good basketball right now. And so it's really curious, when you have, like, if you have your 10-game losing streak in November, how does that impact your overall win total, come April, come playoff time? Like, what does that look like? Because, again, and I'm not trying to be negative Nancy, but this team is going to have one of those. Every team does.
Every team does.
It's like, how does, like, my question is, who's the go-to guy when you're struggling? Because I've noticed that when this team does go through stretches in games where, perfect example, when they've given up all these 15-point leads, there's not a guy on this team that can stop the bleeding. Like Jordan Clarkson in those situations tends to not be Mr. Make. Like usually he's Mr. Make when you're down 5 and you're chasing a team.
Yeah.
That's when he gets it going. But there's not that cold-blooded killer on this team right now that can kind of stop the bleeding. So I don't know. That's where I'm like, hey, I don't know. Like if there's not a guy available at the deadline that I really like, maybe we do just stand pat because we're not a championship team this year. Like maybe we do just get.
But are we all on that grind that we're not a championship team? I think that's something.
That's certainly where I'm at. I mean, I'm not going to sit here again and get way out of shape here about the Jazz. Like again, you have to understand where the expectations were. They've played essentially 10 games. They've blown it out of the water so far. And these next 20 games are going to be very telling. These next 20 games are
massive.
Possibly, like, it's not a stretch to say that these next 20 games could be the most important 20 games.
I don't even think it's 20. I think it's the 12 games we just talked about to end the month. I honestly, I think that's going to dictate your path, because once November's over, I mean, I very much deal in, I'm like you, I'm in the quarter system in the NBA.
Yeah.
And I believe that quarter system gets you into your December games. That's when teams know they're behind the 8 ball or ahead of the game. So we'll see. Utah Jazz Talk on the Monty Show, presented by our good friends at TryDayTrading.com. That's exactly what their name says. Try Day Trading. And have you tried day trading? Do you know what day trading is? Do you have interest in the stock market? More to the point, do you have interest in changing your life? Are you tired of hating your job? Are you tired of waking up every day and going to work for the man and asking yourself, when are you actually going to start that business you've always talked about? When are you going to be able to afford that trip? It's Christmas and Thanksgiving coming up. When are you going to be able to afford the holidays? How much stress do you have on credit card debt right now? How tight are you because you just bought a house and you're not sure you can afford your mortgage? Think about those things. End all of that. Get to TryDayTrading.com right now and change your life. That's what it is. Do you want to make hundreds and thousands of dollars a day? If I said to you, well, how much money do you want to make every day? Ask yourself this simple question. If I said to you, hey man, how about, let's be really conservative. If I said to you, you could make $300 every single day for the rest of the year, would you do it? Would you be like, nah, I'm good. I'm just going to keep working for Joe over at the office? Or could I say to you, hey, you know what? Today is the 9th of the month. If there are 14 working days left in the month, and we could make you
$4,200 before taxes.
$4,200 before taxes for the rest of the month. How many people right now listening to this show would be like, wow, $4,200? That's what I make in an entire month.
How many of you bought houses recently over this past 18-month cycle? And you're starting to understand that,
You're starting to feel the push down.
Right? Like, how many of you have life circumstances that, that you're dealing with that are not really in your control? They just happen to be something that you have to deal with, that you need more opportunity. You need more, like, this is what I've always said about life, right? It's not about saving your money. It's about how do we make more money, right? That's what this life is right now in today's world.
Yes.
So that's why this opportunity is so good, because, again, like he says every single day, we're not even asking you to commit to anything. We're literally just asking you to go to trydaytrading.com/Monty and watch the webinar and make a choice. That's
It's free. All you have to do is go there, put your name and email in there, and watch the webinar. There's no obligation beyond that. There's no cost. It's absolutely free. Change your life today. trydaytrading.com/Monty. Justin Salas, good morning to you. It is still a little early for me to make any decision on the Jazz. I always say you don't really know what you have until 25 games. I don't disagree with that. And then there is Rock Hillaw. Highlaw? Okay. Utah Jazz NBA champions 2023. Come on now.
Can I get some of what you're smoking, bro?
Yeah, come on now. He says 60-22.
Like I said, can I get some of what you're smoking?
Yeah, that's probably illegal. You shouldn't. 60-22. Come on now. That would just be way over the top. Hayabusa. No, Hayabusa. Hayabusa. I was saying that the Jazz will win a championship in the summer. If not, they'll at least be in the playoffs. I'm sure you are. You did. You probably did. Sure. Lopes fan Gabe says, hey, yo, casuals. What's up, Lopes fan? Tanking was a lazy, unsubstantiated take from the jump. I agree with that.
You're casual.
I agree with that. But now you're starting to see that tanking was never really an option, number one. Number two, like Lopes fan Gabe is an Arizona guy. Look at what's going on with the Suns. They've got major injuries now. The Jazz are in first place in the West. Is it because the Suns have injuries, or is it because the Jazz are playing really good basketball? I would tell you it's both.
Yeah.
Should you expect them to win the West? You shouldn't. Because eventually the Golden State Warriors are actually going to start playing basketball.
Yeah.
And you look at the performance by Steph Curry on Monday night. Come on now. Tell me you're not terrified.
Dude.
Tell me you're not terrified by that. That's vintage, right?
Yeah.
This guy sounds like Tony Hinchcliffe.
What does that even
Homer
mean?
John says, I don't know what that means. I have no idea. Let's see. Angel Flores says, Mike Conley deserves another All-Star nod this year. He's the glue holding this team together and making them good. Yeah, unfortunately, there's like 8,700 point guards that are phenomenal in the NBA, which is going to be very difficult. I mean, it's going
to figure something out.
It's tough to be an all-star in the NBA at the point guard position. Giggity, what's up, my guy? Good to see you. Joan P. I hope I'm saying that right. Jone. How would you say?
Yeah, Joan.
Joan? Okay.
Joan, yeah.
They will make the playoff. That's pretty sure. Ooh, I don't know if I'd say that's.
Yeah, see, like, that's what I think. Again, with all due respect, like, I'm
With
not
all
trying,
due respect.
I'm not trying to hate on you, but I don't think we can. I don't think that we should do this team, that disservice yet.
No.
I legitimately think that it's a disservice to say, book it, this team is going to make the playoffs. I think what you should say is, hey, yeah, book it, this team is 1,000% on the right track, and we need to see how this projects over. I like your number. I was more of a 20-game guy, but I'm kind of coming in the middle on 30 games. Like, I think 30 games allows you to play some better teams and, like, go through some adversity and kind of see how you bounce back, which is what really matters. So I would say after 30, we can kind of make that call.
When do you win 30 games?
Yeah.
When do you get your 30th win? That's huge, man. When you get that 30th win, we'll have a conversation that day. Let's see. If you had to guess right now, you've got 9 wins right now. You need 21 more wins. My guess is you're late January. That'd be my guess.
No, I think it's probably before that. I think it's before
You think
that.
so?
Yeah, I think okay, they're good enough to get that done before the end of the calendar year. In my opinion, they're good enough to do that. I think that, like, I haven't, gone super deep into their schedule, but like we're scrolling through it here and looking at, like, there are definitely a lot of winnable games on that schedule.
Yeah, but there's a stretch in December. Let me tell you, this is their December outlook here. Okay, so after you go Bulls, Clippers to end November, you start with the Pacers at Vivint. Okay, we're good.
I would expect them to win that game.
The Blazers at Vivint.
Win.
Okay, we're good.
Yep.
The Warriors come to Vivint.
You have to say that's a loss, but we'll see.
The Timberwolves come to Vivint.
Win.
The Nuggets in Denver. Ooh.
Yeah, that's probably a loss.
The Pelicans come to Vivint.
Win.
The Pelicans come to Vivint back-to-back, the 13th and the 15th of December.
I like them to beat that team. Like, they're faster than that team.
Okay. The Bucks in Milwaukee.
That's a loss.
The Cavs in Cleveland.
That's a loss.
Detroit in Detroit.
That's a win.
The Wizards at Vivint.
That's a win.
The Spurs in San Antonio.
Win. That's a win.
That's the day after Christmas, and the Spurs have been playing good ball.
Yeah.
The Warriors in San Francisco.
Definitely a loss.
Sacramento at Sacramento.
That's going to be tight.
Miami comes to Vivint.
Uh,
That's how you end the year.
Yeah, but like I said, so this is what I'm saying. Like, you look at some of these teams, and there's not a lot of games on the schedule where you're like, yeah, they're definitely not winning that game.
There's not there's no games on there's not a single game, and I think this is an important point. There's not a single game on the schedule where you say they're definitely losing that game. This Utah Jazz team can beat any team on any night, and that's Milwaukee.
I don't think we can say that. I disagree.
I think they can beat any team on any night.
No, you need to show me that you can stop Steph. You can not stop them, but like you can not have them go for 40 or 50.
I look at something in a different way. This is how you beat Dallas. Let Luka have Luka. Let Luka have his night. He's going to get it. You're not.
Yeah.
Look, right now, Donnie, Luka, Giannis.
But what's the difference?
Those guys are all scoring 30 points.
Right, but this is how, in my opinion, how we need to look at the opposition they play. Mm-hmm. The Warriors can run, right?
Yes.
Like, Milwaukee runs big time. Like, that's how Giannis has made his career. Transition, 2 dribbles to get up the court guy, right? Like, that's hard to stop.
I would agree.
Luka is a play slow guy. Luka is, like, your logic there, I 100% agree with. We specifically talked about that they should beat Dallas because, yeah, Luka's going to get his, but Dallas, generally speaking, is a slow team. So when I'm looking at that schedule, yes, of course, I'm looking at teams and their stars and who you're going to have to stop. But, like, the Warriors are such a problem, not because Steph is the greatest shooter of all time, but because when it gets frenetic and you're just going up and down with them, you lose track of guys. And then they hit dagger 3 after dagger 3. That's why they're tough to beat, right? I look at, you look at Detroit, you're going to be able to handle Detroit. Detroit's not going to be that much of a problem.
They're young, they make
right?
mistakes, but
like,
you have to respect them because obviously Cade Cunningham, Sadiq Bey, they have some guys.
Bogey's got a point to prove.
They can put the ball in the hole, right?
Yeah.
Milwaukee, Giannis is going to score 30. He's going to score 30. It is what it is. Ask me is Chris Middleton healthy for that game?
Yeah.
Is Klay Thompson? Is Dre? Look at Phoenix. Is Chris Paul going to play in that game? If he's not, I would probably say the Jazz have a real good chance to win that game.
See, like, Phoenix is a great example. They're a great team, but they're not a fast team. They're a half court.
Especially when Chris plays. When Chris Paul plays, they play a slower pace of basketball.
And so, like, you look at Ayton versus Kessler, that's a really interesting matchup. I look at Vando versus Book, very interesting matchup, right? Like, there are definitely matchups there. But my point just is with that schedule, when I look at that, like, to me, I don't think this team is good enough to beat the Warriors. Like they may get a win this year against the Warriors.
Depends on what Warriors team shows up.
Yeah.
It depends on what team shows up. I think that we have a tremendous home court advantage in Salt Lake City.
That's true.
I think Vivint's a madhouse.
Yeah.
But my point is, when I look at that schedule, I think it's late January that you're getting to 30 wins. I think we can all ride high right now after 12 games.
Well, if that's the case, you're in the mid-40s, I think, come season end. Like, I think you're,
Yep, absolutely. The biggest stories in sports every morning on this show are presented by Quick Quack Car Wash. Make sure you get to Quick Quack because it's raining outside. It's wintertime. It's snowing. There's going to be salt on the road. make sure you get your Quick Quack Wash Pass. I'm telling you right now, it is the absolute best thing in the business. I'm a car guy, so of course I have a wash pass year round, and it's always been Quick Quack. I like that they're friendly, and I'm kind of this guy, and we talk about this with grocery stores.
Yeah.
I hate automation. I'm an employee guy. I'm an employee guy at grocery stores and at Quick Quack Car Wash. I love the fact that I hand my credit card or my debit card to an employee, and I say, hey, I want to do this, I want to do that. At Quick Quack, the best part is usually when you roll up, there's somebody standing there, right? And they have their little iPad in their hand.
Yep.
You have your wash pass. They scan your wash pass, and you're immediately through. And every single time, I can't remember a time where I didn't think to myself, wow, look at that. He's smiling or she's smiling. Like in West Valley over here at the Quick Quack, it's usually the same girl I see every time I go there. And she's always smiling. She's got on a button-up shirt, a tie, a jacket. Like they're very well dressed. They're really friendly.
Yeah.
I'm in and out of there in 5 minutes. And I also like that you get vacuums at Quick Quack, right? I mean, I'm telling you, it's just Quick Quack is good people to do business with. They're all locally owned. They're entrepreneurs. They're small business owners, which I'm passionate about. So go get your car washed at Quick Quack Car Wash. Make sure you get the wash pass. I mean, I think I paid $21.99 a month for a wash that's $31 per time you go.
Yeah.
I always buy the top one. So I pay $21 a month, and I can get as many car washes as I want. I can go 100 times if I want. If I want to go twice a day, every day, $21.99 a month. If I want to go once a month, $21.99 a month.
Yep.
It's up to me. When I want, where I want, at Quick Quack Car Wash. They're friendly, efficient. Check them out. Tell me you heard about it on the Monty Show. And I still maintain today, even though they were off yesterday, I still think that the Utah Jazz are the biggest story in sports. And real quick in the comments, what do you guys think? What do you think is the biggest story in sports?
Yeah.
In Utah right now? I got to tell you, it's still the Jazz at 9-3 leading the West. I think it's still the Jazz. Obviously, what the Utes are doing is really special. I think oddly enough, I think BYU losing the way they had been losing, but then they win the Boise game into a bye week. I think that kind of silences all the negative chatter, all of the talk around BYU for a week. I think that kind of silences them. They're all kind of low key. They're all kind of chilling, right? I think it's by far the Utah Jazz.
Yeah. No, I think definitively it's the Utah Jazz, 100%.
Josh Lovern says, you guys see Jay Williams' multiple part video on Kyrie? It's catching steam, apparently. I have seen it. What's up, Boyd Lake? Good to see you. Some of the other guys in here right now. Teddy Wayman says, morning, guys. Looks like we could win 50 games. You could. I mean, you've got what? You've got 41 wins to go.
Yeah, you
right?
could.
I mean, that's a lot of wins.
But again, I mean, and this is, so we were talking about this last night. Like, I really enjoy breaking the schedule down and saying, okay, on a weekly basis, what do you have to do? Because again, these are human beings. This is their job. Just like it's our job to roll up here every day, at 5 a.m. and walk through the rain today, right? Like that's our job, and then we do the show. Their job is to go out and as a team, as a collective, win ball games. So like to me, on a weekly basis, this team just needs to win 3 out of 5 games. And I say just needs to do that. But it's not like they got to win 4 out of 5, right? Because 3 out of 5 is a lot different than 4 out of 5. Like 3 out of 5, you can play, what's today? So you could play in Atlanta tonight. You could lose tonight. And then you could go, wherever they're heading next and win that game, then lose one and then win again. Like you can kind of bounce around and still get to that 50 win total. So like to me, it's very reachable, but again, it's a long season. There's a lot of miles to be walked here.
A ton.
And I think that the injury bug has plagued the teams before this team. And I'm going to be really curious to see how having a younger roster plays into that. Because they're younger, do they stay more healthy? Does Mike Conley last, or is water still wet? Like, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think it is. I don't know. I just think that Mike's a really interesting point. If Mike Conley stays healthy, and I think Will Hardy's doing a really good job with minute distribution. I think it's very challenging. But I think if Mike can stay healthy, but now it's almost like you backstop that. Because if Mike Conley's out for a week, Colin Sexton's your starting point guard.
Yep. And you wouldn't think twice about that.
You wouldn't. But I think it bumps everybody up. I mean, the injury bug is going to hit. I mean, obviously Vando's out right now. He's questionable tonight in Atlanta.
And there's no reason to rush him back either, by the way.
No, you wouldn't. I mean, you're minus 3.5 in Atlanta. I mean, you're a 3.5 point dog, 226.5.
Well, when you put up 140 on the Lakers,
26.5.
Yeah. It's not like Atlanta's some special defensive team.
113 points per team.
You will see this is going to be a fast game. This Atlanta has a tendency to lose control of games, and teams get out and run against them. I'll be curious to see how this goes.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Let's see. Who else? Tanner Plummer says the biggest story in sports obviously is RSL. Okay, let's move on. Joan P says, I remember Laurie ridiculed Bull's offensive system. He also reached to Boylan, but just said, get more defensive rebounds and score from there. Yeah, Jim Boylan was a disaster.
Yeah.
The Bulls are very interesting. I'd watch the Bulls and the Jazz on the trade front because I think those two organizations like dealing with each other. Now, they haven't made a deal.
Mm-hmm.
But there's some guys on that team that could help you. If you could get a little more guard depth, if you could get, obviously, if you could get some scoring punch from them, the guy on that team I'd love to add to this roster is Javonte Green.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you could get Javonte Green from the Bulls, Pat Williams was absolutely a disaster waiting to happen. I mean, I think you have to feel really fortunate that Minnesota swooped in.
Yes.
Because I think Rudy Gobert would be a Chicago Bull today. And Vucevic and Pat Williams,
And if we're being honest, it's good as a T-Wolf, right?
Yeah, that's terrifying. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't think there's any doubt. But I think there's a lesser deal to be made with the Bulls. I mean, they're clearly not an elite team in the East this season. I think a lot of it's Zach LaVine's injury, but they're clearly not an elite team in the East. If you could get some guard, if you could get a Javonte Green,
that would help.
I think you would take that in a second. He's such an energetic player off your bench. I think Jones coming off their bench is a guy that I would love to have on this team, Jarek Jones Jr. There's a lot of reason to think the Bulls would be a good dance partner for you. Keith Carl says, morning, guys. Is the Pac-12 dead? Yet? No. Okay. Well, not yet. Not yet. We'll talk about that coming up next hour. Mesh says, Curry dropped 47 and the Warriors barely beat the Kings by 3. The Warriors have major problems, and I don't think they're as good as they were last year. Clippers, Grizzlies, Suns are the top teams in the West. I think the issue with the Warriors is that they're tired. They look like a team that's played a lot of basketball, and I know they're coming off of summer, but they still look like a team that just hasn't started playing. And I still maintain that the Draymond Green, Jordan Poole thing is real. And Jordan's playing good basketball, but you can't tell me they're over that. And by the way, Klay Thompson's just not playing yet. He's just not that guy yet, even though he got hot the other night too. But they just haven't put it all together. I also maintain that they need to make a Wiseman-Kuminga deal. Yeah. You've got to kind of lighten the load. Kuminga, I have no idea what he's going to be as a player. I mean, right now, he's just a guy that is out-athleting people, running the floor really well, finishing on the break. But what can you really tell me what Kuminga is as a player? I don't think you have any idea what he is as a player.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't gotten the exposure yet, obviously.
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
But on that team, is he going to?
No, I mean, probably not. I mean, I think that, the Warriors... Look, so directly to Mesh, I disagree with you. The Warriors are the best team in the Western Conference. It's November, and they're not playing good basketball right now.
Yeah.
You put them in a 7-game series, they're going to win that series. They're going to win that series. And I think that, you start talking about guys like James Wiseman, Jonathan Kuminga. You look at the fact that they moved Toscano Anderson. They moved some of those fringe guys off their roster. They're waiting for this current core to move along. And I think you're going to have to make a decision on Draymond or Klay. It's time. You've done your winning. You've worked through those guys. You put the miles on the car, and now it's time to move it along. And I think that, unfortunately, it's just going to be a philosophical thing. You're either going to pick defense or you're going to pick three-point shooting. Klay Thompson, like it or not, is not the same defender he was. He's still a damn good defender, but he's not the same guy that he was. And yeah, it is taking him time. We talk about this all the time on the show, I feel like the last month, that it takes time for Klay Thompson, Colin Sexton, Gordon Hayward, Paul George after the leg break to come back and be that dynamic guy that we all know and love. So I'm not going to sit here and say that the Jazz are, this bona fide 50-win team, just like I'm not going to sit here and say that the Warriors somehow are not one of the best teams in all of basketball. When your guy, Steph, can basically will you to a win, those wins matter later in the year. Like when you're able to pull out that win versus the Kings, like that matters.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Like Steph is still a killer. Steph is still going to end you. And that's what I'm saying. Like they are one of the best teams in the league. Don't get that confused. Just because they're not playing well right now doesn't mean that in the playoffs they're not going to go deep.
But I also think you have to avoid the stupid losses. You have to avoid the major injuries. Like there's a lot that still has to break right for you. You know, I mean, you lost Vanderbilt, you're still winning games. It'll be interesting to see how healthy they stay, on the whole. But I think, again, the Jazz are the best story in the NBA. I think Will Hardy's one of the best stories in the NBA. I think Danny Ainge is the executive of the year so far. Everything that Danny Ainge has done, and I still hate that Bogdanovich trade. I hate it. I cannot stand it. But everything he has done, if you think about the Rudy trade, everything he got back there, the Don trade, just the Donovan Mitchell trade, transformative to the franchise because you add Lauri Markkanen and Colin Sexton, who have been two of your best players. Acquiring all of these draft picks, not making the Knick trade, turning around and making the Cavs trade, listening to football at 50. It's amazing. Right now, obviously Ohio State and Michigan, one of those two is going to lose because, they play each other. But I don't see any way now, unless something of a miracle happens, how does Georgia lose a game? I don't see any way that Georgia's going to lose at Mississippi State, at Kentucky, or home for Georgia Tech.
They're not losing those.
Georgia's going to be the number one team in the country. They're going to the college football playoff. And right now, if I had to guess, I would think that LSU probably wins the West. They're at Arkansas, UAB, and Texas A&M. Jimbo Fisher can't recruit now. He's got two big recruits that have decommitted at A&M. This is going to be LSU and Georgia, and I think Georgia's going to the playoff because Georgia's going to win the SEC. And even if Georgia loses, they're a one-loss Georgia team. They're going to the college football playoff.
Yeah.
So I think this is set in stone already, in my opinion. But I look at some of the other teams here. Obviously, by the way, the Utes are 13. But I look at some of the other teams here. Does USC really have access to the college football playoff right now?
Not really. Yeah, sure.
It's going to be tough.
They have access, but that doesn't mean that you're going to be able to swipe the key.
Colorado at UCLA, Notre Dame.
No,
who in front of them is going to lose? Obviously, Oregon is the one. Oregon's got a very difficult matchup.
Oregon's not winning
against Washington.
Yeah.
But you're at home for Washington, then you're at home for Utah. The Utes are probably the Utes are the best team left on their schedule.
Yeah.
But you really think that,
I don't feel like TCU is a team that should just be catapulted into the college football playoff. Even though they're undefeated.
But are you catapulting that? I think they've earned it.
Well,
they've earned where they are
against Tennessee's schedule. Come on, dude.
Tennessee obviously their big wins or that bit win is a quality win. I don't care any way you slice that. Let me ask you this.
What is the job of someone making the college football playoff? Is it to give every team a fair shake, or is it to make the most compelling matchup?
It's to put the top 4 teams into the college football playoff. That's their job.
If that's the case, is the measuring stick record or is the measuring stick total package? Because
it's total package for sure.
To me, I agree with that, but if it's total package, I don't even know why we're having a conversation about TCU. Their schedule is not even close to Tennessee's schedule. It's not even comparable.
If you look at TCU, what are their best wins? Okay, so Oklahoma, down year. Kansas is a quality win. Anytime you beat, and this is probably where the issue comes in. Most people have pieces of paper in front of them that have TCU's schedule on them.
Right.
And you're going to see Oklahoma, that's a win. You're going to see Kansas, that's a win. Okie State's a win. K-State's a win. A ranked K-State team. On the road at West Virginia, any way you slice it, that going to Morgantown's not easy, that's a good win. Right? But if you beat Texas this weekend, it only solidifies your spot.
Yeah.
I mean, going to Texas, going to Royal and beating Texas is not exactly an easy trick to turn. And the problem now is if Baylor's 6-3, Baylor's not going to be the quality win you hoped it would be if you were TCU. You hope that would be TCU Baylor in a ranked versus ranked
for sure
situation.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's anybody that saw TCU being one of the 4 best teams in the country.
Yeah.
I don't. There's no delusions of grandeur around that.
Yeah.
Absolutely, there is not. Sean Mirzinski says UCLA is 12 at 8-1 because nobody respects the Pac-12. You have to do what Oregon's done, which is just simply punch people in the face. And they have a true superstar quarterback in Bo Nix. I don't think anybody knows.
Which again, see, and this is where I lose respect for the AP and the college football playoff. Bo Nix to me is a superstar at home. Bo Nix is not anywhere near
contraire.
Bryce Young
I think
no,
but Bryce Young's the best quarterback in the country. You don't need Bo Nix to be the best quarterback in the country. I look at their games, and you look at their toughest games have been at home. There's whether it was Brigham or whoever you want to point to, their toughest games were at home. But if you look at what he did to Cal, and Cal has been a good defense, right? Cal was no walk in the park. Bo Nix threw for 412 yards and 3 touchdowns. I mean, and I'm not even talking about his running numbers. Bo Nix threw for 412 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good performance in Berkeley.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that he's come to Salt Lake City. I'm not saying that he's gone to USC. What I'm saying is when he's been on the road, he's been decent. Nobody remembers the Georgia loss. Why don't they remember the Georgia loss? Well, because Georgia's number 1 in the country, and all they've done is kick everybody's ass since they lost to Georgia.
Yeah.
And Bo Nix has been the reason they've been winning.
Yeah.
So and by the way, these are the conversations. Having been involved in this cycle a little bit and knowing people who are in the room for the college football selection committee, I can tell you these are the exact conversations that are being had.
Yeah,
they debate, they argue, they make their case.
Yeah, I have a problem with TCU, as I've said, and my thing with Oregon is that nobody respects the Pac-12, and Bo Nix is great. You threw for 412 yards, you had a great performance, but it is still Cal. That's the problem.
Okay, well, we're gonna find out. Because, I mean, again, you want to know what he is? And granted, Van Filliger's out for the year,
but still,
which is a huge loss for Utah.
Yeah.
But the Utes are going to going to Eugene at Autzen Stadium in 2 weeks. We're going to find out. The team that I've been trying to get to here until you espoused about how terrible Bo Nix is Ohio State. You want to point at a team and say they're overrated, it's Ohio State. I don't believe that not one win on Ohio State's schedule is a quality win. And that includes at Penn State. I don't believe that Penn State's a great football team.
Yeah.
Penn State's 7-2 in a really weak conference, which again, I'll just say about the Big Ten, I think the Big Ten's one of the most overrated hype machines in the entire world on anything.
Yeah.
Notre Dame is not a good win, and they only beat them 21-10, right? Arkansas State, Toledo, Wisconsin, Rutgers on the road finally. Finally, you're on the road, right? And again, I just say, what was this? That game was, their 5th game of the year. They're finally on the road. They beat Michigan State, who hasn't played well at all. They're 2-4 and 0-3 in conference. You beat them 49-20. Iowa sucks. Penn State average. Northwestern sucks out loud. You only beat them 21-7. Granted, terrible weather conditions. You've got Indiana at Maryland and Michigan left. Where's the quality? And now, if you beat Michigan, that's a great win. It's the last game on your schedule to push you into the championship. All right, great, I get that. But you're going to wind up playing Illinois. in the Big Ten championship game.
Come on
now. I mean, there's one team in the West that's over 500, and that's Illinois at 4-2. I mean, it's brutal. The Big Ten sucks, and nobody wants to talk about that.
Yeah.
It's absolutely brutal that nobody will talk about the fact that the Big Ten is overrated. The Big Ten is not deep. They're not talented. And if we're going to pick on somebody who shouldn't be number 2, it's Ohio State. But even though Ohio State's number 2, I think we're all aware that Papa Murphy's Pizza is number 1 in your heart.
Papa Murphy's presents How to Change the Way You Pizza. Step 1, carefully knead dough. Step 2, artfully spread sauce. Step 3, add fresh mozzarella and assemble toppings. Step 4, realize we already did all that for you, so all you have to do is bake it. For a limited time only, get the Hog Heaven Pizza with Canadian bacon, ground sausage, and crispy bacon. Papa Murphy's, change the way you pizza.
I'm so hungry.
Yeah.
Tell me the Hog Heaven Pizza doesn't sound amazing.
Anyone trying to bring us Betos today? Or
what's the story here?
Yeah.
I kid. Papa Murphy's Pizza, download the app, use the promo code Monty25. Are you a bacon on pizza guy?
Not generally speaking.
How much of a bacon guy are you? Are you a big-time bacon guy?
Every once in a while.
Because I'm actually not a huge bacon guy. I am not a big pork belly guy. I love me some pork chop. Absolutely.
So good.
I used to be a huge Cobb salad fan.
Yeah.
So bacon on salad, I kind of got away from that. Kind of got away from that.
Yeah.
Now, if we're at Mastro's Ocean Club and there's a wedge with ranch, tomato, and bacon, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Big Daddy's there for that, right?
Big Daddy.
I had a guy yesterday at Big O Tires call me boss like 7 straight times. 7 straight times. Okay, boss. All right, boss. Hey,
what's
boss.
your phone number, boss?
Hey, boss. What's your phone number? Anyway, the point is, are you a bacon on pizza fan? Boyd Lake says, did someone say bacon?
Fat!
Seth Anderson says, more Jizzy talk, please.
Nothing to talk about with it.
Nothing to talk about, man.
They got divorced. It is what it is.
It's over, man. The hoe be hoeing.
Yeah.
What do you want me to say? Josh Lovren says, my top college football teams. Everybody write this down. Tennessee, Georgia, Ohio. See, this is what I don't understand. How is Ohio State one of your top football teams? Give me a reason to believe in Ohio State. They haven't played particularly well at any point this season, right? Their recruiting's actually down, not up. Give me a reason to believe in them.
Yeah.
Give me a reason. You want to fight over it? Let's fight over it. Jeremy Severe says, never think of bacon as a main course as part of a main course. Think of it as a garnish. Life will change.
Yes.
Now, see, I'm also the guy who loves a good club sandwich. And I'm telling you right now, the best club sandwich I've had in Utah is at The Break.
So good.
The Break in West Valley makes the best club sandwich in the chain of Break sports bars.
And then you combine that with the ranch, and it just is, every day, dude. It's so good.
I think it depends on who's putting the bacon on the pizza, is what I would say. Gumbylicious says bacon on pizza is cool. Okay. Boyd Lake, Jizzy got major shade from Kate Upton. Of course, there's Jizzy talk.
Yeah.
But is Kate...
You married a Houston Astro.
No, he married a set of cans.
Like, come on. Justin
Verlander and Kate Upton are together. Like, he's getting that on a regular basis, which is, I mean, far more disappointing than anything else we're going to talk about today. She's amazing, but isn't she one of those girls where you're like, do you have to talk? Can we just fall asleep?
Yes.
Right? Anyway, okay. Strength of schedule is 6th in the nation for Ohio State. Cool. They haven't played anybody. Boyd Lake says, but then we might have to discuss the Houston Astros. No, we're not going to do that. Stop it, Boyd. Nobody likes the Astros. No, you don't.
Giggity.
Boyd, let's be honest. Boyd, you don't even like the Astros.
Yeah.
You don't like you feel. Tell me that you don't shower every time you say the words Houston Astros.
All due respect.
That's what I'm saying. Have you tried smoked pork belly? Yes.
Man, there's nothing like a moist pork chop, dude.
Yes. Did you just say moist?
Yes.
God, why? Tanner says somebody called you boss, Mont. Didn't you say that you hate when people call you boss? I do.
Do we want to talk about the joke that is tires today?
Yeah, no.
It's a joke. Like a joke.
Okay, so real quick. I drive an Audi SQ5.
Right.
I have 21-inch wheels.
Right.
So thus, you have to have 21-inch tires.
Right.
And on the Audi, because it is a driving machine that is quattro and all-wheel drive full-time. Me? Man, I get aroused just thinking about Jizzy. But the point is, or is it? Anyway, the point is, I'm telling you, the quattro, once you drive a car with quattro, and I'm as a previous recovering BMW owner, and I say recovering because once you drive a 5 Series M Sport, rear-wheel drive, with offset, larger, wider tires in the back, and he got that.
So good, dude. It's so good. Like,
it's lovely. But then when you get into a Quattro SQ5, and you're riding around on 21s, and you got to get new tires, and they tell you it's going to be $2,475.
Bonnie, please.
Your life flashes before your eyes, mainly because you know your wife's going to divorce you when you tell her.
That's fucking interesting, man.
But you understand that you can't get Michelin Pilot Sport all seasons because they're out the door $2,400.
They let you down.
But you really can't get any other tire besides that because 21s are not readily available.
right.
And even if I go to, and like I'm a Big O Tires guy, that's my shop. Like I know the guys there. Yeah, he calls me boss, but he also put the tires on my Jeep. Like, I mean,
They do a good job.
Excellent job.
Yeah.
I went in there yesterday because we're going to Mammoth on Thursday. Tomorrow afternoon, we're going to Mammoth. We're off on Friday, by the way. So we're taking Klaus, the Audi, and I had a tire pressure sensor light that went on, and that was like 2 months ago. So they reset the tire pressure, and he's like, hey, man, you're down to 430 seconds. You probably ought to look at it.
Can you measure it?
Why are tires a racket? Why are tires a racket? Somebody, anybody, explain to me. All I want, and the funny thing is, I originally wanted Michigan Pilot Sport Summers.
Right.
Pilot Sport S is what it's called.
Yeah.
They put an all season on there just by default because they thought that's what I'd want.
Right.
And it's turned out it's an amazing tire. But now it's just
Brutal. It's brutal.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on. Jeff Johnson says, I'm pretty sure moist pork belly was a euphemism.
Are we clear on that?
I don't know. I mean,
No comment. No comment.
Could you explain that? I don't understand. I do understand. RJ Sheen, Shene. By the way,
Shanae.
I think it's funny that people are DMing me about how I pronounce their names.
Hey, yeah, you're saying my name wrong when you read my comment.
Okay. Astros take his spot on. Thank you.
Hey, guys.
See, Boyd, nobody likes the Astros.
Yeah, come on, guy.
And, you know, even when you say the word Houston Astros, like your breath stinks just saying that word.
Yeah, come on.
Jeff Johnson says, ASS Tros win was a loss for all of baseball fans outside of Houston. Huge letdown. Such a good story. Yeah, I agree.
I don't get down like that.
No, I don't get down like that either. Let's see. The Astros, the Granger South National League, was my little league team when I lived in Taylorsville as a kid.
Hey, guys.
Of course, I love the Astros. The GSNL Astros won it all then, too.
You're not seriously an Astros fan.
Oh, he is.
Guy.
Oh, Boyd's a huge Astros
Dude, Boyd,
fan.
you're like one of my favorite guys on the show, and you're an Astros fan now. Come on.
Was one of your favorite guys.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you. Yeah,
was.
Yeah.
You know. Tanner says the Houston Astros. Dang, I need to go brush my teeth now. I'm telling you.
It's terrible, dude.
Get a breath mint.
Like, it's terrible for sports that they won the World Series.
What are we doing? Like, we're talking about life is what we're doing. On the Monty Show, presented by the Advocates, UtahAdvocates.com. The best injury attorneys in the business, no doubt about that, are the Advocates. UtahAdvocates.com. If you've been in a wreck, if you got hit on your motorcycle, if somebody rear-ends you, don't go with your insurance company, please. Absolutely, you should call them. You should file a claim. Absolutely. But go to at least get the free consultation. At least chat with them online at UtahAdvocates.com because they're going to fight for you. And do you realize when you work with the Advocates that you don't pay them until they win your case? No big upfront fees. There's no consultation fees. There's no retainers. They're going to help you defer your medical bills. Heavens to Betsy that you have a bunch of medical bills from your accident, whether that's at work, whether that is you tripped down a sidewalk and broke your ankle, car accident, motorcycle accident, ATV accident perhaps. The Advocates, UtahAdvocates.com, the best in the business.
I wanted to be in radio since I was tiny. It's constantly on the go and remembering what buttons to push, but I love it. It's so much fun. I'm Katie. I'm a radio producer and a dinosaur fanatic. I was injured in 2 very similar car accidents, hit from behind. Obviously wasn't my fault. I was sitting there stopped. When I called up the Advocates, they're like, oh, you definitely have a case. I'm grateful to have attorneys on my side when I need them. You never know what can happen on the road, and it's nice to know that you have someplace to go that can help.
There you go, the Utah Advocates, UtahAdvocates.com. Hey, friends, make sure you give us a thumbs up right now. Please hit the like button. It really helps the channel grow. We are really trying to get to 10,000 by the end of the year. Much like the Jazz winning 60 games, it's not going to happen.
Right.
But we'd really like to get to 8,000 as soon as possible. And you guys do such a good job supporting us. We just ask you, all 129 of you right now, if you give us a thumbs up, it's going to make the channel grow, and that's what we're here for on the Monty Show. Coming up in about 15 minutes, we're going to talk about the Pac-12. We have an update for you on the Pac-12 situation with their TV deal. And as we told you yesterday, the San Diego State thing, we'll recap that and get into what's going on with the expansion and the TV deal in the Pac-12. We'll talk about that. But everybody's kind of coming to our defense here on the show, Jake.
Right, yeah.
Because Sean Mierzinski also said, being a fan of an AL West team, can't stand that trash team.
You're casual.
Meaning the Astros.
Yeah. The AL West is a garbage division, dude.
It is. I mean,
like, there's not many.
I'm going to guess you're an Angels fan, I would guess. I don't know that there are any of those.
Yeah.
But, you know. San Diego State Aztec, good morning, friend. Houston Astros. Even Dusty Baker's pristine character doesn't cover that stench.
Seriously.
Yeah, I agree. Seth Anderson says, I need to hire the Advocates to help me get code Monty25 to work in North Dakota.
Well,
you got to fight him, man. You know what I'm saying? You got to fight him. You got to do it. Monty25 to get 25% off your purchase of $25 or more. Let's talk about this BYU thing because I'm a little fed up with this, and I don't know if you guys have heard about this or not. The University of Pacific canceled a volleyball match with BYU in Provo and didn't cancel it. They forfeited it because they said that they did not want to deal with what Duke volleyball had to deal with. The racial abuse and fan behavior,
you know,
that comes along with BYU volleyball. And I'm trying to figure this out. I'm trying to understand this, and ride with me on this for a minute. BYU, by anybody's measure, jumped through hoops, put a ton of resources into a full investigation to vet, understand, and diagnose this allegation that a Duke volleyball player was racially abused while she was competing in Provo against BYU volleyball. And there is zero, and I don't mean a little bit or zero evidence that ever happened. None. Did it happen? Maybe, I guess. There's no evidence of it. There's no video evidence. There's no audio evidence. There's no fan evidence. Nobody heard it. So, yet, here we go again, because South Carolina basketball felt it necessary not to come to Provo to play BYU because of something that didn't happen and cannot be proven that it happened, by the way. And now, months later, after the thing that never happened, here we go with Pacific canceling a volleyball match, citing the thing that never happened. And when we walked through this originally, when the Duke incident happened, everybody told me, oh, you're crazy, perception versus reality. This is what I warned you about. Because when you have a stigma about BYU, I don't think you ever get over this. And yeah, you got the win. That's cool and stuff. But the stigma and the label is now that BYU is a racist institution. And then if you bring your black athletes to Provo, they're going to get racially abused. Is that true? I personally don't believe that to be true. But what does BYU do here to get over this? Because I don't know that there's anything they can do.
Yeah, I don't think there's an actionable item that just says, oh yeah, like, you know, we're past this. I mean, they released a statement on it. They said what they needed to say in response to Pacific doing this, but I can't help but feel like, yeah, this is kind of, you know, it's embarrassing on some level. Like I don't understand why Pacific would cancel or forfeit. They didn't cancel. It is important to say they forfeit, as you were saying. I don't understand why you'd forfeit based on these concerns. If BYU has done an investigation, they went through all the tape, they asked all the people, they've done everything that they can do, and there was simply no evidence that this ever happened. That's my problem. Like, I understand, like, if there was even a sniff of evidence that there was racial abuse, I can understand why Pacific would be like, yeah, you know, have the win, we're good, not interested. Okay, I guess I get that. But the idea that there was this robust investigation and BYU actually did make an earnest, honest, concerted effort to find resolution, to find result, to find justice and truth in the situation. And there was nothing to be found. That's what's so crazy to me. That's what is so befuddling. Like BYU, like, it's almost as if they're saying, oh, well, this is volleyball, so this isn't as important. It's almost like the ADs are like, yeah, well, this is volleyball. I mean, yeah, we're gonna play you in football for sure. We're gonna play you in football and basketball for sure. Oh, but this is golf, or this is volleyball, or this is like a non-revenue generating sport. Racism, can't do it. That's why it's weird to me. Like, I don't understand this, and I don't know. Like, to your point, I don't think there's nothing that they can do about it. There's not some clear-cut way to get these schools to kind of like relax on this. I just don't understand it. Like the perception versus reality thing has always been true in our country. Like, if people think the economy's great, then it's great. If they think it's crappy, it's crappy, right? It's that whole adage. But I don't know. I guess my point here is I thought that because BYU did this investigation, they went through the tapes, like they talked to everybody, like they really made a true, honest effort. I don't know what else you would expect them to do. That's what I don't understand.
I don't think the sad part about this is, if we're being totally honest, there's no win here. There's no getting past what happened with Duke volleyball. That incident is true, and it happened because they said it's true and it happened.
Right.
That nobody will remember an investigation. Nobody will remember the exhaustive effort that BYU athletics put into trying to find the source of the N-word that was supposedly lobbed at a Duke volleyball player. But the stain of racism will always hang over Provo. And sadly, I just don't think there's any way to avoid that, because I have not, in my experience, found that to be true. Now, I'm a 49-year-old white guy. What do I know about racism? Sure, okay, I can get down with that perspective. But we have gone out of our way, whether it was having Guy Holiday on the show, talking to black football player alums, talking to cultural leaders at BYU. Nobody experiences this behavior on a regular basis. There are one-off incidents, but there's one-off incidents at every campus. This happens at every university. But for some reason, BYU can't get away from it. And I think this goes back to Russell Westbrook. I think this goes back to all of these incidents that have happened. And BYU, unfortunately, of late has been involved in multiple incidents like this. But I think this goes back to the history and recent history in sports in this town, where Donovan Mitchell's not allowed to talk about things he's passionate about.
Yeah.
And Russell Westbrook says he got racially abused, and frankly, they caught that guy doing that. So we know that words were said. So when racial allegations get lobbed at BYU volleyball, is it really that surprising?
No.
And is it really that hard to believe? Because I think if you get outside of the state and you say, hey, is Utah a racist state? People are going to say yes. And do we have issues with race in Utah? Absolutely we do. We have a lot of ground to cover. We have a lot of work to do. BYU, in my opinion, poses no threat to any visiting athletic program. None of that. Your life is not in danger any more in Provo than it is in Durham, North Carolina. It just isn't. And your life is not in any more danger in California, frankly, or Provo. And your life is probably more in danger in California at Pacific than it is at Provo, if we're being honest.
Facts.
I mean, it's so frustrating to me, and I don't mean to belabor this point, but it's so frustrating to me that you can't have this kind of discussion without everybody playing the race card. And you are not at risk of being racially abused at BYU. I just don't believe you are.
Yep.
I think the evidence doesn't say you are. I don't believe that there's some laundry list of altercations where black athletes have been repeatedly abused and terrified for their lives.
Yeah.
I mean, you would believe, if you follow the Duke, South Carolina, now Pacific train, that this was the worst of times, the 40s, 50s, 60s, and the fight for racial equality, and ground zeros, the Provo volleyball gym. That's what you would be led to believe if you listen to Duke volleyball, if you listen to Pacific, if you listen to South Carolina. And it's just not the case. BYU, I can only say it so many times, BYU is not a racist institution in my opinion. BYU athletes are not racist athletes. BYU fans do not racially abuse black athletes and minorities on a regular basis when they come to Provo to perform athletically. But it doesn't matter because nobody cares.
Yep.
Let's see. Seth Anderson says politics should stay out of sports. No, they shouldn't.
No,
absolutely. They politics need to be in sports. Politics and sports are the exact same thing. They're the exact same thing. There's competition, there's testosterone, there's egos, it's the exact same thing. And if you haven't been paying attention to the elections the last 36 hours, you're watching a sporting event on TV. We watch election results like we watch the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
It's no different. Sports and politics, the best and the worst part they're exactly the same. The worst part is we can't talk sports and we can't talk politics. That's the best and the worst part of it. Why do we not have a BYU-Utah football game every year? Because people can't behave themselves. And Max Hall's mom gets beer thrown on her.
Yeah.
Max Hall's mom. Anyway. Okay. Josh Levern says Pacific Volleyball knew they were taking an L regardless. I would argue the head coach at Pacific used to use this to see if he will protect his job in Stockton at BYU's expense. Yeah, maybe. It doesn't. You don't. How do I say? You don't play the race card to keep your job. And if you knew you were going to, listen, if that's what Pacific is about, it's disgusting. It is. It's not funny. It's not humorous. If you're avoiding Provo because you knew you were going to lose, and they were going to lose, you knew you were going to lose. So, hey, let me play the race card to excuse this loss. I have a hard time believing. I have a really hard time believing that. Quint Randall says there are many other situations where BYU is treated unfairly in the academic world by people with false biases that no one even knows about. Well, I mean, just being a faith-based institution.
Yeah.
And then you throw in the fact that, everybody who is, a member of the LDS church has 17 wives and, they wear special underpants and stuff.
Right.
I mean, that's the perception versus reality issue that
inside of a state that's already perceived to be very white.
I mean, my God, the perception versus reality issues.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's insane.
Yeah.
It's
crazy.
insane. I think the LDS church has a massive perception problem.
Yeah.
The narratives, the jokes, come on. I mean, it is. Quint, I think you're exactly right. I think you're exact. The perception versus reality thing, is crazy. M. Morris says, these are the popular narratives that we should avoid. Yeah, it's very difficult. Quint also says, welcome to BYU's world. Tanner Plummer says, there could be one thing BYU can do about it. Change the name of the school. The school is named after a racist. In today's woke culture, that's the kiss of death. But we talked about this as well. I mean, Notre Dame is named after essentially, pick the school. Notre Dame, how come Notre Dame isn't talked about with the Catholics?
But this is what we do.
Why isn't this is exactly
this is
what we do.
We want to say, so this is the problem I've always had. And I feel like we do this a lot in our culture. Oh, well, the school's named after a guy who was racist, so we need to change that. And what I'm saying is that instead of running from our history, right, and running from what clearly has happened, why don't we talk about it? Because that's what I view Pacific as now.
Yes.
You're a coward. You used racism as a cop-out not to play this game. And I don't know what your motive was. I don't know what you're trying to do. I know what it looks like, and it looks like, based on what you said, that you just didn't want to be here because BYU is some racist institution. The assertion is that that the student body is full of racist people and that they're that's the assertion. And I just think it's ridiculous. If I said, hey, if BYU said, hey, we're not going to Ohio State to play volleyball because Ohio State's racist, BYU would get laughed out of the room, and that's my problem. We can go to, with all due respect to you, Tanner, the name change thing just doesn't carry weight to me.
It doesn't.
Why don't we change the name of every single thing in this country then that has a racist background? That's right, we can't, because our origins are based in race. That's the issue.
Why
dude.
is Penn State playing football?
Yeah, perfect example.
We don't talk about Joe Paterno and that scandal at Penn State. You hear the name Penn State, you don't think about a child abuse scandal that took place over decades.
Decades, bro.
When we think about Ohio State, we don't think about sex abuse scandals in the wrestling program at Ohio State. But yet you hear BYU and it's marriage and it's, oh man, look at all those 30-year-old football players. They served missions. They're so lucky. And actually it's not. It's not that they served. Well, they went out on a mission and they took 2 years off and they were 47 years old playing football against teenagers. Yeah, because serving missions is actually good for a football player, the body. It helps them physically, right?
Yeah, they strength train the whole time, right? And they're able to eat and do what they need to do.
Yeah, they
right?
watch film, right? It's
dude.
not like when you serve a mission, your entire life is, preaching and sharing the word of the Lord and knocking on people's doors. No, you're doing push-ups and you're working out at the gym and you're riding your bike and you're eating well. And all that other God stuff is second. They're only there to become better basketball and football and baseball players.
Come on.
Are you kidding me?
Come on, man.
It's all the perception versus reality thing. It's absolutely...
And it's a convenient argument, and that's my
problem. It is a convenient argument.
It's like this whole thing where it's like, oh, well, Utah's a white state, and that means BYU, even though there was no evidence and, we're a research institution, but even though there's no evidence here, we're not going to play this game. And that's my issue. Literally, this is my issue in sports. This is one of the things that frustrates me the most, is that whether we're talking about the college football playoff rankings and how that's evaluated, right? Ohio State's going to get a free pass because they're Ohio State, right? And all of a sudden that means they should be in the college football playoff. But other teams who are better are not going to get in. Oh, BYU is in a white state. And they're a faith-based institution. Yeah, we got a problem with that. There was some incident about racism at a volleyball game, even though there was no proof of it, right? But we're definitely not going to do that. We're not going to do that.
Talking about BYU and Pacific, Big Dog O-Town gives us a $5 tips and says, holla, my dudes, fill me in on the Pacific talk. I just tuned in. Shout out to Mobamba.
Damn, dude.
Shout out to Mobamba.
Come on.
So if you're just tuning in, University of the Pacific, who is based in Northern California, Bay Area.
Yeah,
Stockton.
by the way, if you've never heard of them, don't blame yourself.
Canceled a volleyball match this week with BYU because they said that they didn't want to subject their players to the same abuse that Duke faced. And it's one of these things where I just think it's a joke. It truly is a joke. Greg Hale makes a good point, though. Greg says the perception is that BYU did its own investigation instead of a third party. People can't get over that. I believe it never happened, but that's your criticism that they aren't getting over. Well, I think BYU also did a really smart thing and released all of their evidence. I mean, you cannot, and I think Tom Homel's been very frank about this. You come in and look at it. If come and see all of what we did. They spent a lot of resources and a lot of time. Do you know how arduous it is to go through all that footage and to listen to all that footage, to talk to all those people? You're really, and again, throw their investigation out. You're really telling me that you believe that BYU fans would let somebody stand there and racially abuse an opponent? I don't believe that would happen.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm naive. Maybe I believe too much in BYU fans or The Rock. I don't know.
And by the way, it should be said, and I always want to point this out. We're not from Utah. We're not BYU fans. We're not Utah fans. We're not Utah Jazz fans. Like, we're not from this town.
No.
Right?
We're not LDS.
Like, we're not LDS. We're not, we don't have a dog in this fight. But what I'm simply telling you is that it somehow has become okay to label an institution racist, even though there's no proof of that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
There's no proof.
All right, a couple more on this before we get back to the Jazz. NY Monty fan says, bingo, Monty, it doesn't matter because nobody cares. Sometimes the truth is not as sexy as the alternative. Media are garbage. That's my number one why I love this show. Facts, truth, and it is what it is. It is what it is. And too many times, again, you want to know why politics and sports run hand in hand? Because depending on the network you watch, you're going to get a different truth about the election. Like if you think about, hey, this network is left, this network is right, this network leans, this one that, you never know until you actually do the work yourself. And I think we do that on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, having talked to people in Provo, that never happened. I am of the opinion it never happened. Les Wayman, good morning to you. Religion shouldn't have anything to do with sports. Now that, my friends, is exactly right.
Yeah.
And religion, not politics, religion. Whether you're Mormon or Catholic or agnostic, it shouldn't matter. Are you a good football player? Are you a good volleyball player?
But again, this is kind of what we've been saying this morning on this topic, though. Shoulda, coulda, woulda, right? It does.
Yes.
And that's a tough part.
Yeah.
Like, Les, I agree with you, bro. Like, it shouldn't matter what your beliefs are, right? Obviously, to a certain extent. But it does. And that's why, I go back to, the documentary that was done on the Manti Te'o situation all those years ago and how religion played a part in that and, how it was crushing and how, Manti Te'o made the decision to go to Notre Dame partially because he was a man of faith, right? And he wanted to be in that lifestyle versus going to SC. And I think it's just this amazing thing in life where it's like, hey, depending on the culture you were brought up in, you're either very religious, right? Like in the Polynesian community, you're very religious, right? Like in Utah, obviously, the LDS faith is huge here. But I don't know why, when it comes to BYU, everyone's like the mission thing or there's so many negative perceptions about the institution just because they are a faith-based institution.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It is. And I think there's a lot of people who, my guess is most people who have judgment and value statements in religion, politics, sports, haven't done the work to understand. Because I don't think you should be placing judgment on people without some empathy and understanding. Understand the shoes that they walk in every day. And I just don't think, I think labeling BYU volleyball puts an unfair stain on those girls.
But that's easy. That's
it is easy. It's the easy way out.
It's the easy thing to do.
It is the easy button.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. Jeremy Bolton, good morning to you, sir. He says, if having returned missionaries are such an advantage, why isn't Nick Saban doing it?
Yeah,
well, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. He also says, or why doesn't Ohio State have 11 starting returning missionaries? Because it's not an advantage at all.
Fucking A.
Do you think it's an advantage? We talk to Harris LaChance every week on this show. He's married. He's got a young child. Think about that in your day-to-day. Okay, so I've got to go to school. I've got to go to weight. I got to go to this. I've got to eat well. I've got to sleep well. But I've got this toddler, and I've got... do you really think it's that much of an advantage to be married with kids playing college football?
at BYU.
I don't think it is. I think it's the reality of that lifestyle. I would not call it an advantage. Absolutely, it is not. It is not. Josh Lovern says, I would say the state of Oregon has bigger issues with minorities and people who aren't from Oregon. But do you see football teams canceling or forfeiting football games against Oregon because their fans, are bigots and abuse BYU? And we're chanting F the Mormons? How come nobody's canceling games there? How come they're not worried about the safety of their athletes or the integrity of the fan base and abusing their athletes based on religion after they chanted F the Mormons at BYU?
Oh, that's right.
Oh, because it's the Mormons and nobody really cares if they get abused.
You're a douche.
Because they're racist Mormons anyways. I mean,
Yeah.
That's
They
the
had it
problem.
coming to 'em.
That's the problem. That is the problem. Boyd Lake says, I got dysentery twice on my mission. That's rough on the body. I would say so. Big Dog O-Town says that's a week they are scared to take that beat down. They are, because BYU volleyball, by the way, is very good.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, if we just, like, that was kind of brought up earlier too, Big Dog. Like, if we really think about this, like, okay, they don't want to play the game. On a surface level, all right, great. You don't want to take the beating. You don't want to travel. Okay, whatever. Just forfeit. But to forfeit the game and use the race card as your reason, you don't get to just do that. You don't just get the benefit of the doubt when you start rolling in the race card. Like that's what I'm saying. Like, that's what I don't understand. I understand if, hey, it's a business decision, or you had there was a financial issue, or like there's any number of reasons why. Who the hell knows if it was that they didn't want to take a beat down or they didn't want to lose the game or whatever, dude. Like, I don't know the reason. But what I do know is that you can't just say, well, we forfeited the game because you guys are racist. That's what you're saying. And I just think
that's
it's
exactly
such a
what
problem.
they're saying.
And I think what's really funny to me, and this is not just a volleyball thing. Like, in life, it's okay for people to like, yeah, he's racist and you're racist and that guy's racist. But if none of that's true, and I'm just someone who likes to stir the pot, what repercussions are there for me? What repercussions are there for those Oregon fans?
But
There's none.
But when we talk about stuff like this, you know what the other situation that I think is so interesting? I look at the Jeff Saturday hiring.
Great example.
Who is the last black NFL coach that was hired with zero coaching experience? Show me the previous black NFL player that was given a blank check and hired as a head coach with zero experience, straight off a TV set.
You know what they said? They said the Rooney Rule doesn't apply to interim head coaches. The NFL came out and said that. Hey, the Rooney Rule doesn't apply to this situation.
We're just such hypocrites in this country when it comes to race. It's whether it's BYU, like the Oregon example, that's the one I usually cling to. Like, okay, so wait, Duke volleyball in an incident that they can't prove ever happened. There's zero evidence of it. Teams are canceling because of that. But at Oregon, it's okay to yell at the Mormons and
on tape. It's on tape, dude.
But I look at stuff like Jeff Saturday being hired by the Colts, and it plays on that stereotype. And it plays on the perception that, hey, you get the benefit of the doubt. BYU does not get the benefit of the doubt. Jeff Saturday gets the benefit of the doubt. There are, in my opinion, and this is why we talk about race and politics and sports all the time, because they're the exact same thing. We have perception problems in this country.
Yeah.
And maybe it's completely off base that I thought about that with Jeff Saturday. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. If the Rooney Rule was brought up, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
I cannot be the only one who's thought that.
Yeah, the NFL came out and said, low-key, under the radar, which was the conversation that it was not highly publicized, that the Rooney Rule does not apply to interim head coaching opportunities. If you're just hiring a guy as a Band-Aid, we're not going to put the Rooney Rule, statutes and standards on that situation, because that's just a Band-Aid, and the assumption is, or the assertion is, that you're going to go out and go through the Rooney Rule process. But wouldn't it have been
a Band-Aid to put John Fox as the interim coach, who's white, by the way? I would never have thought about that if John Fox, who's got years of experience as a coordinator and a head coach, you would have never thought about that.
Totally qualified.
Bro, you fired your head coach and hired a guy off of a TV set who's never been a head coach, an assistant coach, a coordinator ever. And Jeff Saturday worked for ESPN.
And he's pretty good at what he does too, by the way.
In fact, he's not going to call plays. He has no experience. And yet you hired him, and you can't tell me you didn't hire him in the long term. Well, it's interim. So you just want Jeff Saturday to coach the rest of the year. Why didn't you say that then? It's crazy to me. It is crazy to me. Football 50 coming up in 10 minutes. We'll debate. Jake is going to make an irrational argument that Tennessee is still the best team that's ever played ever in college football. That's coming up. Tell me you're not going to make that argument?
And perception's reality.
Okay. The biggest stories in sports this morning presented by Quick Quack Car Wash. Hey, pouring rain this morning. Snow's coming. By the way, did anybody see the lows next week? Are in the 20s.
Oh, we getting some actual winter weather?
Yes, the lows are in the 20s. It is quite not comfortable outside this morning, by the way. We walked out of the house at 4:30 this morning, and it was raining, windy, and it was about 36 degrees. So it is cold. But next week, dude, it's going to be in the 20s. We're in wintertime. This is when you make or break the life of your car. And obviously, with paint and corrosion, salt on the roads, generally it's always windy here in Utah. So you're always going to have dirt, grime, dust, especially in the winter with all the salt. Get a wash pass at Quick Quack Car Wash. I always use the one. I use the top one. That's just who I am. I'm a baller. Pimp's going pimp.
Right.
But I get their top wash. It's $21.99 a month. I can go 100 times. I can go one time. I can go no time.
Right.
I can go as much as I want. Every time it snows, generally I get my car washed. Whenever I try to get it washed once or twice a week.
I'm for real.
And it's easy. I'm in and out of Quick Quack in 5 minutes. I don't have to deal with some computer screen. I pull up. There's a friendly person who scans my wash pass. If you don't have a pass, you just hand them your debit or credit card. You're in. They hand it right back to you. They hand you a free dashboard wipe, and you're in and out of there in 5 minutes. Even when there's a line, you're in and out of there quick.
This new location that they just got going in South Jordan at the district that we talk about all the time.
Yes.
They built a little, like a little station, like
little
house, like a little outhouse, basically, where their employee, when there's not a line, because they move people through really fast, and there's not typically a line, but when there's not that line and that person's chilling, they can stand inside. That wasn't there under prior ownership of a different brand. Like, Quick Quack cares about that person that's standing there, and that's why you get that good experience. So, and
that's why their employees are happy and friendly. Like, it stands out to me anymore, and I don't know, maybe I'm too critical, but do you ever notice you go to the grocery store and some people are just like, do you want paper or plastic? Right? And you're like, okay.
We got food yesterday.
Yes.
Going through the drive-thru, and you're like, you literally said to the girl, you seem happy.
She was like not happy. I was like, wow, you seem really happy to be here. And she goes, I've been here for 4 hours and I haven't eaten. Next window. Just like that. I was like, come on.
She was like, moving along.
But at Quick Quack, you go in and it's super chill. And they're nice people. You're in and out of there. I love it. Bring your kids, because I love the red lights at the South Jordan.
The district.
At the district. By the way, starting November 16th, their top car wash is going to be free. So they're doing a grand opening thing. The first 100 people through on November 16th get a gift bag. Like, they have all kinds of great deals at the district location for Quick Quack. But they have these bright red lights. The soap is blue, green, yellow. Like, it's fun at Quick Quack. But real quick, before we get to Football 50, we only have 5 minutes. Who has the best drive-through experience in fast food? Because I think this matters. This matters to me. I generally, one of my big complaints is that, and I probably eat too much fast food, but one of my biggest complaints is that fast food drive-through employees are not happy or thrilled. Now, I understand you're working there. It's grunt work. People treat you like crap, but I'm actually really friendly all the time.
Right.
And I will always talk to the person.
It catches them off guard. It legitimately catches them off guard. And I think sometimes they can't tell if you're being snarky, like if you're like trolling them, or if you're actually being nice. Because there's so many unhappy people that come through the drive-thru. And I will always say to the person who hands me my food, I'll be like, hey, thanks for being here. Just because I know it's not an easy job. Yeah.
I know it's not an easy job.
Yeah.
And like the person at my local Chipotle, she knows us so well that she like smiles at us when we walk in. And so I don't mind going into the Chipotle.
Yeah.
But man, I got to tell you know why I don't eat at Chick-fil-A anymore? Because the people are always rude. They're so busy that they pay you no attention. They pay you no mind. The last time I was at Chick-fil-A, the lady almost tossed the bag into my car.
Yeah, they've changed. From what I understand, they've changed the way. So like Chick-fil-A has been criticized for that a lot. That because they were so busy that their employees just weren't providing a great experience. And so what they've started doing now is they have, like Chick-fil-A's always done the person walks with you while you're driving through the drive-thru to take your order, and like they kind of get ahead of the stack basically, so then they can kind of power through the line. But what they've started doing now is instead of making you wait all the way till you get to the window to get your food, what they've started doing is they have a runner now where they're going to bring your food to you while it's much hotter than it would be if you had to wait all that time, and then you can leave the line sooner. They have a breakout.
Well, Jeremy Bolton says, as much as you guys hate Chick-fil-A, what, did you know this was coming?
Yeah.
They have a drive-through down to a science, and they're always happy. Okay, so at Chick-fil-A, their process, what you're talking about, I agree, it's down to a science.
Yes.
Like they have order takers with the little iPad. Boop, 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 boop.
Yep. Pop your card in, it's good to go.
Yeah, like they add, hey, how much chemical do you want in the bag that your sandwich is wrapped in? Anyway, I'll move on.
Because
the point
it's
is,
garbage.
they're at Chick-fil-A, the drive-through science and process nails, JB, you're exactly right. I don't think the people are always friendly. And I don't expect them to be. It's a hard job. It is a hard job to work in fast food.
Yep. Well, in customer service.
But don't make the person that's buying the food invisible. And that's why I don't go to Chick-fil-A anymore. Again, I live in South Jordan, right by the district. I don't go to that one because
their egg and cheese biscuits are still undefeated, bro.
I don't know about that. You have no taste in food, so you have no frame of reference, Donnie. My point is...
So you have no frame of reference here, Donnie.
Thank you. My point is, their food's average. Their French fries are terrible. But it's just too much of a mill. So... What's the best drive-through experience we've had recently? Probably Burger King. No, you know what it was? In Boise at Jack in the Box.
Oh, yes. Jack in the Box was really
super
good, dude.
But now, again, she was super young. This was in the drive-through at the Jack in Boise. Young, hip girl.
Yeah.
Who was actually smiling.
Yeah.
Like, it's in Boise,
Yep.
so you expect that. It's actually, is it Boise or I can't remember the name of the town, but she was really friendly. And it was, if they'd have had a tip jar, I'd have tipped her. Like, she was that friendly.
Yeah, much like you should tip us in our tip jar. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that is very true, by the way.
What?
So, we're trying to help families for Thanksgiving and Christmas. That's what we're trying to do. So when you tip us in the tip function, after you hit the like button, everybody who's here right now, please hit the like button. We have 149 people watching the show. Please give us a thumbs up. But we're trying to give back to our listeners. So one of the things we've asked people to do is DM me about things in your life that you need help with. And several people have DM'd me and said, I want to be anonymous. I don't want people to know that I asked for help or that you helped us.
Right.
And one of the things we wanted to do is be really transparent about it, because we want you guys to tip us and know that money that you're tipping us is going to help somebody.
I don't think it should be. Okay, so first I want to say I empathize with the thought of, hey, like I don't want people to know that I needed help.
And let me tell the story real quick. This particular person DM'd and they said, hey, I'm really struggling. And I'm trying to be careful. My spouse lost their job. And so we don't have money outside of our monthly nut, essentially. They were saying we can pay our bills, we can pay our mortgage, but we're probably not going to have toys for Christmas. And we're not going to, right now, if Thanksgiving was today, we couldn't have a Thanksgiving meal. And this person went on to tell me, hey, what we're doing is we are really down to all the food that you always tell us not to eat. And that's because they can afford that food.
It's really sad, man.
They can, they're eating things like pasta. They're eating things like top ramen. We joked about, and specifically this person mentioned Pop-Tarts.
Yeah. Because
we joked about Pop-Tarts, and Mrs. Monty had crushed Pop-Tarts and said they were terrible for people. And they are. But this person said that's what we can afford. And to tell you how much this person listens to the show, they shop at Winco Foods by our house on Mountain View Corridor.
Yeah.
And the thing I feel terrible about is I was really harsh on Winco Foods. But that's the place where people are in our lives, folks. Those are your neighbors.
66% of Americans right now are paycheck to paycheck, and the average income's over $100,000.
So it is, correct. So I understand that we have asked you guys to tip us, and I understand that we've asked you guys to help with this. And we really need your help because there's a lot I've probably gotten 15, 20 requests. And it's one of those things where it's it's an emotional thing for me because we do quite well on this show. We were just looking at our numbers yesterday on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And our YouTube show does very well. All of our sponsors are thrilled. Like you guys really, you go to Barbecue Pit Stop, you go to Quick Quack, you go to...
You guys sold out Asado seasoning.
Yeah, they're trying to restock Asado seasoning. We were talking to Lopes Van Gabe about this. And it's just one of those things, you guys, where it's really humbling how much you support our show. And I know we're late for football at 50, but this is really important. I'm asking you to trust us because I'm not going to take pictures with people. I'm not going to do video with people. We're not going to talk about the people specifically that we help. Because it never had occurred to me that people would be embarrassed or ashamed to ask for help. It's stupid now that I look at it. I'm like, dude, of course they're going to be embarrassed or ashamed.
Yeah, I think what we could do, just in an effort to get some transparency, because obviously you are tipping us and donating essentially, and we really appreciate that. Like we obviously don't have to show the family that we help, but I don't think there's anything wrong with showing the process, like showing like what we get them. And like, I mean, I think there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, we're just trying to, we don't want you guys to think that, we're asking you to donate for this cause and then we're just taking the money. Because we don't need it like that. That's not what we're doing.
But I also want to respect people's privacy because some of the stories that people have submitted, I mean, there's things we can't do. There are people who have asked us, hey, I need a new roof and it's $22,000. We don't have $22,000 as much as I would like to help everybody.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people who are asking, hey, like one particular person asked me for an Amazon gift card that I already sent them because they were trying to buy a particular Christmas gift for their son. And so I'm all good with that stuff. But it's just really it's weird. I'm sitting here being emotional. Like it's oddly impactful.
It's bothersome, dude. Like people are struggling.
We talk about these things in cliches or in these, it's out there, but we don't know that or we're not feeling that. So it's not really out there. It's out there. And to hear the stories from these people, one person in particular was telling me they have to choose what utility to pay. And once it gets cold enough, they're going to stop paying their electric bill because they know it's against the law to turn their electric off. And they'll worry about that once spring gets here. That's crazy to me.
Yeah, man.
They understand the financial pressure they're under makes them understand how to manipulate the electric company because they know they can't turn their power off. Man, like that just...
Yeah.
And the worst part about this is it shouldn't be, I wish it wasn't embarrassing to ask for help. And I understand, but the thing is, we've all needed that. We've had those moments in our lives, right? Like we've had those moments in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
And I really want to help people. So anything you guys donate to us, here's my point in this rambling that's now gone on way too long. Anything you donate to us, I'm asking you to rest assured that that's going to people in our community who need help. And listeners of this show who have reached out to us and asked for help or asked for an Amazon gift. Like the thing that I will promise you is this, I'm not going to hand somebody like Chris Karn, and you're probably going to be upset I said this, but Chris gave us a $100 bill the other day. Last week when we were giving out lottery tickets, the dude walked in here And Chris, I love you, dude. Like Chris is somebody I consider a friend. Like I've gotten to know Chris a little bit.
Yeah.
He came in here with like 2 Betos burritos and a $100 bill and was like, here, I want to help you guys. I want you, like here's to your holiday fund. I'm not going to take that $100 bill and hand it to somebody. What we will do is we will bring you a bag of groceries. I'm happy to send you an Amazon gift card or what, but we're not just going to hand people cash. We're going to do what we can do. And one of the things that we're going to do is like we've talked to Mrs. Monty's reached out to the Boys and Girls Club and Big Brothers and Big Sisters because we're going to adopt some kids and take them Christmas shopping. And we're going to buy them clothes and toys. Like that stuff is what we're trying to do. So whatever money you donate to us, we're going to put into that way.
Yeah.
And I'm asking you for a little latitude on that because I'm not going to photograph people. We were going to make a YouTube video is what we're going to do. That doesn't now, because I've talked to people, that doesn't make sense at all in any way, shape, or form. Mm-hmm. It doesn't make sense to do that. So we're not going to do that. But, man, it's been humbling talking to people.
Yeah, I mean, I think it, we see the tips coming in. I really appreciate you guys. Like, when you talk to people, like, you get a different perspective.
Yeah.
Like, it kind of, like, again, we've told the story about this studio and how this studio came to be. I feel like we were very transparent about that. Like, like we worked our ass off for a long time to be able to try to get an opportunity like this. And that's why we try to do the lotto ticket thing. That's why we're trying to do what we're trying to do. And I think you start to hear some of these stories and it's like, damn, dude, like inflation is real. Like the struggle is real. Like there's not like,
it totally is.
I get it. Like, there's jobs out there and, it's easy to say, well, you can get a job, but that doesn't mean that that's going to cover like your 3 kids and the mortgage and like, the school and like all this other stuff.
And one of the other interesting things that came up was somebody asked me about one of the guys that was at our viewing party at Barbecue Pit Stop.
Yeah.
And Steve and the guys at Barbecue Pit Stop in Lehigh hosted our BYU Oregon watch party. And we made a bunch of pizza and they made a bunch of turkey breast and we had a ton of wings. It was awesome. But one of the people at the party took like a ton of pizza home. And we knew we had been talking to them about it. And this particular person, like that's how he was going to eat. That's how he was going to eat for a couple of days.
Yeah.
That's the reality of it. That's the reality of it. And you guys are pretty amazing. I see everybody that's donating. Teddy Wayman, thank you. I appreciate that, Teddy. Les Wayman gives us $10. Jeff Johnson gives us $10. Thank you so much. NY Monty fan as usual. Jeremy Bolton as usual. Like you guys are amazing. I really appreciate you. And I didn't bring this up today because I wanted to, let's get a bunch of people to donate. It's been really weighing on me about some of the stories we've heard, man. And keep them coming. If you need help, if listen, if it's your neighbor, somebody at church, somebody at school, like if you know a family that's going to have a tough time providing for their kids at Christmas, please DM me. I'm happy to talk to people. I really, really feel very lucky to be in a position where we can give back. Yeah. So DM me, The Monty Show, MONTY, The Monty Show. This portion of the show brought to you by our good friends at Papa Murphy's Pizza. Make sure you use the promo code Monty25. And every day it seems like somebody sends us a picture of their pizza order. We would love when you guys do that. We've actually tried a couple of listeners' pizza orders. You guys have great ideas. I'm a barbecue sauce guy.
Yeah.
And a bunch of listeners have tried barbecue sauce on their pizza now. I'm telling you, it's bomb. But whatever your flavor is, make sure you use our promo code Monty25. Tell me you heard about it on the Monty Show. It really helps us grow. And I'm telling you, Papa Murphy's Pizza is amazing.
Yes.
They do a great job supporting this show, as do all of our sponsors and all of our partners. We appreciate that. A couple of comments. Jordan Royal says, morning, fellas. Love the show and the donation you're gathering for families in need. Really cool. We're really trying to help back. Greg Hale says, knowing that Veterans Day is coming up and this show is not up that day, shout out to those who served. I work for the Utah helping get benefits. Please contact me if you need that help. Thanks, Greg Hale. Appreciate that,
man. Appreciate that, bro.
That's awesome. Greg Hawkins, how the heck are you? He says, I must have missed a charity. What the F happened here? Literally donations for days. Well, we were talking about, Greg. It's been a rough couple of days with DMs. Honestly, people DMing, because we're doing for those of you who don't know, we're doing a charity push for the holidays, trying to help families, trying to help kids at Christmas, trying to provide meals for people at Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And we're doing that through our tip jar, and anything that we don't get in tips, we're going to cover out of our own pocket just because you guys deserve that. You take such great care of the show. And I was just saying that so many people have sent me messages about, hey, I could use this, or I need that, or we're struggling with this or that, or
reality can be cold, man.
It is.
Like the world is not an easy place to survive. And I think that it's, we talk a lot about the grind, and like yesterday we talked about getting up at 4 and like kind of our day and like what it looks like. And, it's easy just to kind of get in the groove and produce every day and do what we do. And I think that, through that process, it's easy to kind of miss like what's going on out here. Like,
we take
it's
so many things for granted every day. Every single day we take things for granted. So thank you everybody who, Will, thank you very much. He says, thanks for helping out the community, guys. Greg Hawkins says, okay, cool, go Utes. That's funny. That's very funny. By the way, tomorrow, I want to remind everybody, I almost feel bad saying it. We're going to be off on Friday because we're going to Mammoth.
Yeah.
Snowboarding season has arrived. So every year, Jake and I do a father-son trip now every year, it seems like. Yeah. We drive out to Mammoth, so we're going to be off on Friday. We'll be back Monday. But tomorrow, we will have we have our locks, all of our preview for football. Riley O'Brien says, love you guys. Tim and Jake, you are gifted at what you do. Much love to everyone who listens. I love the Monty Show. Thanks, Riley. By the way, Riley O'Brien is your hookup on RVs.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's your dude right there. If you're an RV guy, make sure you reach out to Riley. The Monty Show every day is presented by The Advocates, UtahAdvocates.com. The best injury attorneys in the business, without a doubt. Our guys at The Advocates have known Matt Triggs for 10 years. Talk about supporting the show. Matt was on the show back when we were at 1320 K-Fan.
The sports leader.
The Advocates and Matt Triggs were partners with our show back then. And it's great to have them back on the show. They are our presenting sponsor. And they're the best injury attorneys in Utah. If you've been in an accident, if you've got hurt at work, they absolutely do workman's comp. Motorcycles, cars, trucks, you name it. If you've been injured and you need representation, and trust me, if you're sitting here asking yourself, man, I slipped and fell at work. Do I need an attorney for this? Yes, you do. If you're wondering, the answer is yes, you do, because your insurance company is not out to help you. They're out to help themselves. That's their job, is to make as much money as possible. The Advocate's job is to make sure that you are represented and you get everything, including every penny you deserve. UtahAdvocates.com, where there's never a consultation fee. Chat with them free online right now at UtahAdvocates.com. So the biggest story in sports today for us is the Utah Jazz, who are 3.5-point road dogs tonight in Atlanta, taking on the Atlanta Hawks. And one of the questions we've talked about so much as the wins have piled up, and now that the Jazz are 9-3 and number 1 in the Western Conference, the question that continues to be asked is this a playoff team? So we put quite a bit of time yesterday into how many wins do the Jazz need to be a playoff team? I put that number at, I think the minimum is 44. The minimum is 44. It's probably 46 to 48. I think the minimum, 44 makes them a play-in team. If you want to be 1 through 5, 1 through 6 even, I think it's 46 to 48. And when you look at the West, you understand that all year long it's between 2.5, maybe 5 games from the top to the bottom. There's not a lot of room for error. So if you look at this Utah Jazz team and you know that they've won 9 games out of 12, they're 9-3. There's 70 games left, right? So if they win 58% of those games, that's going to get them to about 44 to 48 wins. Can they play 58% basketball the rest of the way? Because, Jake, I think if they do, they're going to be a playoff team.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think they're capable of playing 58% basketball, 580 basketball. I think that, the injury thing is obviously always looming. How healthy can you stay? How well does Will Hardy and the coaching staff execute load management with Mike Conley? How does the schedule pan out? after the trade deadline, based on what you did or did not do at the trade deadline. So there are obviously a lot of factors in it. But yeah, I mean, I look at last year's standings, just to put this into perspective. The top team in the West last year was the Suns at 64-18. You look at the mid-table where the Jazz were last year, they were a 49-win team, 49-33, which works out to 59.8, right? That you were basically a 60% team. You go down one more spot, the Nuggets were a 48-win team, right? 58.5%. So, to me, to really guarantee it, yeah, you got to be, I think that 48 number is really what guarantees it. Because, Minnesota is not as good as they were last year. The Pelicans were a 36-win team last year. They're better, obviously, than they were last year.
Is this team going to win 39 more games?
Yeah, I think so.
30. Can you imagine? Okay, so if they play 50, they have 70 games left. If they win 58% of those games, that's 41 wins.
Yeah.
That's insane. Is this team really going to be 50-32?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh man, I can't believe they get to 50.
They were There would be the Mavericks of last year, 52-30. The Mavs were a 4 seed.
No way does this team win 52 games. Here's what I would propose, and this is where my mind is at. And we've talked about this morning on the show. Let's see when they get to 30 wins. When are they going to get to 30 wins? Because I think 30 wins is a marker of what's in front of you. If you get to 30 wins in April, you're probably not going to the playoffs. But what if you get to 30 wins in mid to late January? And what if at the halfway point, you're 30-12? What if after 42 games? What if after 42 games, you're 30-12? And the reason that number is so significant is because then in the next 40 games, you would only need to win probably 12 of those games. Now, their schedule is daunting at best. And we've talked a lot about this.
Mm-hmm.
The next couple of probably 6 weeks, that's going to write the story of this season. But I think that if they can get to 30-12, that's the record.
Mm-hmm.
If this team is ever 30 wins against 12 losses, you've got to be aggressive at the trade deadline.
Agreed.
If you are ever 30-12. Now, if you're 30-20, okay, I mean, you got 30 games left at that point, right? I mean, if you're 30-20, that's 50 games.
Yep.
You've got 30 games left. That's
You're
fine.
going to fight to get into the playoffs at that point.
But my win percentage is 30-12.
Mm-hmm.
If you're 30 wins against 12 losses, you're a real team.
Yeah.
That's 42 games. It's just a tick over halfway. 30 wins is what you need to pay attention to.
You're winning 2 for every one you lose. That's what you're doing.
Let's be real clear on something, though. This is not a championship caliber team as constructed.
Yeah.
And when you look at this Utah Jazz team and you start to really think about, hey, who are we? What are we? What do we need? This team is a superstar away from being a legitimate contender. And you are and again, those guys I point to are the Giannis, the Donovan, the Bradley Beal.
Hey, close.
And no, by no stretch of the imagination am I saying the Donovan trade was a mistake. Because if you don't make that Donovan trade, you don't have Lauri and Colin Sexton.
Yep.
Right? And I think Lauri Markkanen has been fabulous. Colin Sexton's been a really good sixth man. You needed to make that deal. But now you're at a point where if you get to 30 wins, and again, I'll just say if you get to 30-12, or if you can if you get to 30 wins before the trade deadline, don't you have to at least package some of your picks and try to go get a wing scorer, a wing player, a wing star?
Yeah.
And again, I think that's going to be a really tough proposition. By that point, I mean, if we look at where teams are now, I mean, there's not a whole lot of teams right now today that are sellers. Even if you're the Orlando Magic or the Detroit Pistons, who are you really trading?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, the Pistons are terrible at 3-8. I mean, do you want Boyan back? Because I don't.
No.
I mean, that was a terrible trade, but he's not a guy that's going to help you, right? I mean, you're not getting Paolo Banchero from Orlando, right? But if you start looking at, well, what's Charlotte got? What's Charlotte got? Does Terry Rozier make this team better?
Mm-hmm.
He probably does make this team better. Does Gordon Hayward make this team better? I don't think they would reacquire him, but that's the kind of guy that's available in Charlotte. You know, you look at teams that you've talked to in the past. Look at the Chicago Bulls. The Chicago Bulls are a sputtering 500 team. And a lot of it is because Zach LaVine's knee cannot be trusted.
Zach LaVine's knee.
And, well, but again, and the Bulls are a team, if I'm a Utah Jazz fan, I'm paying attention to every single Bulls game.
That's every day.
I look at their club at their best, right? And they beat Toronto the other night, and Zach LaVine had a massive game. Zach LaVine had 30 points, 4 of 8 from 3, 3 rebounds, 5 dimes, 2 steals.
Yeah, everything you want.
Everything you want. But Nikola Vucevic plays 34 minutes and gives you 15 points. I'm not interested in Vucevic.
Yeah.
That's a guy they would trade, right? Patrick Williams plays 25 minutes and gives you 10 points. I'm not interested in Patrick Williams. I'm not. But now if you want to talk to me about, you know, Derek Jones Jr., that's a guy I think could be a real difference maker on this team. He can play the 4-5. He shoots the 3 pretty well.
Don't you know who I am?
He gives you depth. He gives you depth behind Vando.
Dude can jump out of the gym.
That's a guy. You know the other guy I'd be interested in? Plus 12 the other night, Javonte Green. Javonte Green's a guy I'd be interested in. Is he somebody that's going to win you a championship? No. Does he make you a better club?
Yeah.
Does he add to your weaknesses? Yeah, he does.
Does he fit in?
Javonte Green would be an excellent player. Now, the problem is he's 29 years old, so Javonte Green's not a young player anymore. But that's a guy you would look at, right? But I'm not interested in Pat Williams. I'm not interested in Nikola Vucevic. Those are the guys that are available to them. Now, you want to make me a crazy trade? Sure, I would take Ayo Dosunmu. They're not trading Dosunmu, right? So I'm just being realistic about
But don't
teams.
you have to call and ask what it would take?
Oh, I think they've had that conversation repeatedly.
Wow.
During the Rudy Gobert trade, they wanted Ayo Dosunmu, and they weren't giving that up.
Yeah.
Right? But if I look up and down the divisions, and I look at teams specifically in the Eastern Conference, does Buddy Hield fit in here or make you a better team? I don't think he makes you a better team.
Yeah, and I don't know that he fits in.
Because you already have that in Jordan Clarkson.
Yeah, and you're not that same sniper 3-and-D team. You're
No.
much more of a defense outlet, see what you got team.
And by the way, you also have that in Malik Beasley. Like, you already have Buddy Hield on your team. So I don't think Indiana necessarily is a dance partner. I look at the Knicks that are a 500 team. Well, what are the Knicks really looking to trade? I mean, is Julius Randle a guy that you want to fit in here?
Obviously not.
I could tell you the Jazz don't want Julius Randle.
Yeah.
The Jazz are not interested in that. I think one of the other interesting teams, I think, is the Washington Wizards. I'd be watching the Wizards, and I look at the way that this team stacks up, and I can tell you now that a guy like a Hachimura, that's a guy I'd be interested in. Are they willing to give him up? Probably not. But I look at Kyle Kuzma. Is Kyle Kuzma a 27-year-old Kyle Kuzma? Who's making pretty good bread, by the way. Is Kyle Kuzma a guy that makes the Jazz better? I mean, he's got tremendous size.
Not particularly. I mean, yeah, he's got good size. He can play make a little bit, but I don't know that he makes you better. I
don't think so either.
Yeah.
Shoots the 3 in volume and not
again,
particularly
well.
well.
It's not just adding the guy to the roster. Obviously, you're going to have to give stuff up to get him. That's the thing.
And I'm not taking Porzingis.
No.
I'm not interested in Porzingis. I mean, the guy that I would want there is Daniel Gafford.
Yes.
Daniel Gafford's a 6'9", 234-pound, 24-year-old power forward.
That's a guy that makes you better.
Daniel Gafford makes the Utah Jazz a better team. Is that a guy that you're going to go out and get? Probably not.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of options.
There are options, but I don't know that there's a lot of answers. I don't know that, and that's why I'm saying, okay, best case scenario, after 42 games, you're 30-12, I think is your best case. Looking at their schedule, like, I spent way too much time listening to the election results and looking at the Jazz schedule, trying to figure out how many games, where, and when.
I want better fucking execution.
I think their best top of the line, Mom, is 30-12. If you're 30-12, how aggressive do you want to be at the deadline?
See, again, but this kind of goes back to the philosophical thing too, like, you know, where they're actually at, where the front, like Danny and Ryan and Justin are actually at with this conversation. Because if they're saying, hey, this is best case scenario for us, like, hey, we're winning games, but we're still, you know, we're rebuilding this roster, you know, and it's going to take time. and we're not going to get over our skis with this concept of winning a championship. Like, we're going to go through the process, take our time with it. Like, are they in that mindset? Or are they in the mindset of, hey, yeah, we thought this was going to take 2 years or 3 years, but Will Hardy's coaching his ass off, and these guys are really playing hard for him. Let's see what we can get done this year. That's why I'm saying, like, their behavior is not just on who's available. Their behavior is largely based on their opinions as a group on what they think they should do. Because it's like, if it was me and you're a 30-12 team at the deadline, yeah, I'm getting on the phone and I'm going to try and see about, like, I'm definitely going to call about Jaylen Brown. I'm going to call about Jaylen Brown. Now, that deal probably doesn't get done, right? Like, we just know that. But I want to call and I want to see, like, hey, Brad Stevens, what would it take? You know, what are you looking for? You know, I want to call on Tyrese Maxey, even though he's never going to leave Philly. They're never doing that. But
Yeah,
you got to call on that.
Yeah.
You know, like, I need to know,
Yeah.
you know, like, who's another, like, I want to know what it would take to get Jalen Green out of Houston. You know, I don't know. Like, those deals, you go in with the mindset of, hey, yeah, probably not going to happen. But if he said to me, well, Danny, it's going to take 5 picks and a player. Well, hey, guess what? I have 5 picks and a player.
Yeah.
Do I want to do that? Like, that's what I think they need to do.
I think it's interesting. And I think their 42nd game is January 7th against Maier and we are the Chicago Bulls.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be a critical 30-12, man. 30-12. That's the number you got to get to. In my opinion, if you ever get to that game, if you ever get to that mark, and I think it's going to be almost impossible to do, I think that's their best case scenario.
Yeah.
That their 30th win shows up against the Bulls January 7th. I think you have to be super aggressive at the deadline.
Yeah.
And I think you have to get a player that you can control, and I think you have to get a player that makes you clearly a better team.
Yeah.
That's what this team needs. All right, talking Utah Jazz basketball on the Monty Show, presented by our good friends at TryDayTrading.com, TryDayTrading.com/Monty. And, you know, we've been talking a lot about life, money, circumstances. If you're that person that is struggling to get through the day-to-day, or, you know, if you're somebody that's trying to figure out how you're going to provide for your family, or you hate your boss, or you're on your third side hustle and you still hate your boss, just do me the simple favor of watching the free, no obligation webinar at TryDayTrading.com/Monty. That's all I'm asking you to do. Change your life today. If I said to you for the rest of the year, every business day, you could make $300. Every business day. You're telling me you wouldn't do that? You're telling me you wouldn't do that? Absolutely, you would do that. And it doesn't even have to be your full-time gig. I know personally day traders that work their full-time gig. Day trading is so prolific now, and there's so many people day trading that at Yelp, there is an actual community. There's a Slack channel at Yelp that's got over 1,000 people that are day traders while they work at Yelp full-time. That's the kind of community we're talking about. A ton of people know what you don't know already, that day trading is absolutely a path to freedom and financial flexibility. Because that's all you're trying to do on the day-to-day, right? None of us are grinding so that we have to work more. We're all grinding so we can work less. And that's what TryDayTrading.com does for you. So get to TryDayTrading.com/Monty, watch the free webinar, and then make a decision. Because the other thing that you got to know is when you start making actual trades, when you're done with the program at TryDay Trading, you don't actually risk your own money. When you start trading, you trade with TryDayTrading.com's money. And when you make money with their money, because you will, they'll split the profit with you 50-50. That's how sure they are that they can turn you into a prolific day trader at TryDayTrading.com/Monty. Make sure you tell me you heard about it on the Monty Show. Let's talk Utah Jazz basketball. Thanks to our friends at TryDay Trading. Ken Williams says, I trust Danny.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree. Ken Williams also says this team plays with heart, and there's a moxie about this team. They will not tank. They will make the playoffs. Brent Burnett says Jazz at this rate could win 60 games. Have them pegged at 48, but no doubt they're over 500.
Agreed.
Over-under wins on January 7th.
28.
I think they're over. I think 30-12 is doable for this team.
Yeah, I think the over-under is 28.
Yeah. NY Monty fan says, good point of reference is the Celtics' current team and how they built what they have now. It'll be a gradual process, almost be improving where they are currently at. That's the Ainge model. Well, I also think that you're exactly right. I mean, you look at Jalen and Jason Tatum. You look at a guy like a Marcus Smart, but he went out and made a huge splash with Gordon Hayward. Did it work out? No. Gordon broke the leg. It was never the same.
Yeah.
You go out and you make a splash with Kyrie Irving. Did it work out? No. Kyrie winds up in Brooklyn. But you still continue to work and add and add and add. And all of a sudden you find yourself going deeper and deeper in the playoffs. And then all of a sudden you accidentally end up in the NBA Finals. And did you win it? No, you didn't. You ran into Steph Curry and the Warriors. But now you're ready for that next step. And I think you're exactly right, MY Monty fan. The Jazz are at that point now where they have a nice little thing, but now you need to polish that rock into a gem, right? You need to polish that rock into a gem. And I think at the deadline, I would be aggressive, but man, I would be measured because you're in the catbird seat right now.
Yep.
You're in the catbird seat. And again, if you are not coming to the G League games at Maverick Center, you're crazy. Because Scoot Henderson and G League Ignite come in here in a couple of weeks. You want to see a kid that's going to be the next thing in the NBA? I'm telling you, it's not VW, it's Scoot Henderson.
And you can get good seats.
And the G League is playing here at Maverick Center, and you got to come out and see him because I think that game's the 28th. I can't remember when that game is, but
yeah,
it's
Monday the 28th.
Yeah, it's the last week of the month. G League Ignite in town right here at Maverick Center. It's going to be crazy. Let's see. Brett Burnett says Ainge model is courage to do the unthinkable. Well, I agree. And you're exactly right, Brent. Ainge believes in doing the hard things, and he does hard well. He absolutely does. NY Monty fan says, I'm a little surprised with the Justin Zanuck extension, but got to stay tuned to watch the whole show. I'm not surprised. I mean, Justin's been really good.
Yeah.
Jay-Z's been really good.
Yeah, Jay-Z. Not to be confused with Jizzy. This is different.
This is different. That's exactly right. Jay-Z's been really good. I mean, Justin Zanuck's done a very good job. He's a facilitator for Danny Ainge. He creates a lot of the conversations and builds the bridges, and Danny walks over them.
Yeah.
And I think that's exactly how it should be. Brandon Butler says Marcus Smart is who I would call on.
What about Jay Crowder?
Well, Jay Crowder's hanging out there.
Refuses to play with him, even though Cam Johnson's hurt.
And I wouldn't either. I mean, at this point, I wouldn't. But you got to stop being the Brooklyn Nets at some point. You can't be stubborn. You know that Jay Crowder's not coming back. Trade him. Don't make the mistake that the Nets made and bring Kyrie back. Trade him to the Lakers for 2 first-round picks.
Yeah.
And take Russ in return. Trade Jay Crowder. Trade Kyrie Irving. I wouldn't have traded Kevin Durant either. I totally understand that one. Trade Kyrie Irving. And now you're stuck with a crap sandwich because you can't trade Kyrie Irving now for any legitimate value.
Nope.
And now the Lakers are so bad that they say they're hanging on to their picks. So, yeah, I think and you know that the Jazz can make trades. I mean, their phone still, I've consistently heard, just the other day I was told by an NBA source that the Jazz are still the most busy active phones in the NBA.
Yeah.
People want their guys. And I think the Jazz are doing a great job of holding tight. Just hold tight. That's all you have to do. Tanner Plummer says, how long do you think Jimmer will play pro basketball?
Why?
No idea. Why does that even matter at this point?
Yeah.
Why does that even matter? I have no idea.
That feels like a hey guys moment.
Yeah. MY Monty fan says, I love Marcus Smart. Selfless and does the dirty work. Brandon Butler, great take. Issue is he's older now and he's a higher salary. He got paid. Brent Burnett asking about the gym. Jimmer makes that team better. He just won the 3-on-3. Stop. What is it going to take for BYU fans to understand Jimmer Fredette's not an NBA talent?
Donnie, please.
I hate to break it to you. He's not an NBA talent.
Yeah.
He's not good enough to play in the NBA. He is not athletic enough and he is not physical enough. He does one thing exceptionally well. I don't know what that one thing is, but no, I'm kidding. He shoots the ball exceptionally well. That's it.
Yeah.
He's not a handler. He's not a dribbler. He's a shooter. That's it. He's not a guy. This team doesn't need shooting. This team needs a dynamic offensive threat.
Get your own bucket guy.
Yeah, like the JIMMER thing frustrates me because he's a guy that everybody's like, he never got a fair shot. Trust me,
he did.
He got a fair shot. Where is he winning championships? In the international 3-on-3 competition, where there's a ton of space and not many people play defense. Where is he winning championships? In China, where the talent level is disastrously bad.
This is fucking America.
Dwight Howard's going to play in Taiwan.
Get paid.
He got paid. In all seriousness, I have nothing against Jimmer Fredette. But the long-held obsession over he didn't get a chance. Yes, he did.
Donnie, please.
With multiple teams. When he was with the Suns, Jake and I talked to him. We had a long conversation at practice one day. Had him on the show. The Bulls, the Knicks. He's not an NBA player. Like, you just got to let that go. You got to let that go. You know, like, come on now. Andy Hughes says Curry and LeBron James are all getting older. They are. I agree. Andy says the good news for Jazz fans, Laurie, Sexton, and Beasley are all entering their prime. I mean, Malik Beasley's not a guy that... Malik Beasley's interesting. Is he a guy you got to keep?
Depends. Depends on how many wins you have, you know? His value changes based on your team wins.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. I agree with that 100%. Andy, the Jazz are a team full of mid-20-year-olds, only getting better. The West will be between the Jazz, Grizzlies, and Nuggets in 2026. Golden State, the Lakers, and Clippers will be too old. Well, we'll see. How is Golden State going to reload? Because, frankly speaking, I don't think they're getting too old. They're actually getting much younger. When you look at the commitment they just made to Jordan Poole, you look at Wiseman, Kuminga, who I think they're going to leverage one of those two guys.
Yep.
Steph Curry plays a very young man's game. I think Steph's got a lot left in the tank.
Yeah.
Andrew Wiggins is not old. I think their core is changing. Is Draymond Green young? He's not. Is Clay the same player? Clearly he's not. But Steph and Clay play very young man's basketball. Draymond, I think you're going to have to replace him. But they have a group of guys together that can stay competitive. Now, the Lakers, here's the scary thing, and nobody wants to talk about this with the Lakers. But the Lakers are going to have financial freedom here, depending on the decisions they make. I will again tell you, and I will say it until I'm blue in the face, they're going to trade Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
I've been saying that for a month. They're going to trade Anthony Davis. That's the guy. If he could stay healthy.
After the street clothes Davis.
I think they would help them in the effort to trade him. They've given up on him because they cannot rely on him. But he's a guy that you can get draft capital for. If there's one team that I would be terrified of getting the number one pick, it's not the Utah Jazz, it's the LA Lakers. I'm telling you, they are going to blow that roster up. Yeah. You know their financial flexibility is coming because Russ is done. He's making $47 million this year. He's done after this year. He's not going back there. They're not bringing him back. And by the way, he's helping himself at the trade deadline because he arguably is the sixth man of the year right now.
Mm-hmm.
So he's helped himself. He's grown his value. And by the way, who's the other point guard that's available? Kyrie Irving. Has he helped or hurt himself? Nobody's trading for that guy. Russell Westbrook's trade value is inching up. And by the way, you talk about making trades and being brave enough to do the hard things. I'm telling you, Jeannie Buss is humiliated right now. That's a lady who would not mind blowing that thing up and starting over because they've got unbelievable financial flexibility.
Yeah.
So you enjoy the ride down to the bottom of the division in the conference for the Lakers.
Yeah.
Because they will not be there long. They will not be there long. They have things that people want. So it is what it is. Let's see. Tanner wants to continue to reminisce. I remember when the Jimmer was playing at BYU, this one Mountain West guy called him Jimmer Jammer Fredette. Well, neat. That's really cool. Andy, you said Ainge. Well, but
hey guys.
I don't get it. I'm not trying to be a cock about this, but I don't get it. I cannot believe how many basketball fans that I talk to. It's weekly at this point. Why do you think Jimmer didn't get a real shot?
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
Do you think Jimmer being Mormon is why he didn't make it in the NBA?
Fucking
I think he's not good enough to play in the NBA.
Yeah.
I don't think it has anything to do with his religion. He's not good enough.
Let's settle this right now.
You can have Catholics, Muslims, Jewish people, white people, black people, Asian people, Latinos. Doesn't matter. Can they play in the NBA? Oh, they can? Sure. Here's a contract. Oh, the only thing you can do is shoot? Well, guess what? Everybody can shoot now. Everybody can dunk now. That's cool that you can dunk, but can you do anything else? Can Jimmer Fredette play defense in the NBA?
Nah.
No, he cannot. No, he cannot. I don't understand it. Okay, I feel better. I don't. I don't. Boyd Lake says, I'd love to see Jimmer go to the Olympics as a 3-on-3 player. Go play in the Big Three.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah. I mean, I love watching his game. Go do it. Good morning, Cody Strickland. I was looking at the November-December games. I see us winning at least 7 games this month and 8 to 10 in December. That won't put us at 30 by the end of the year. What do you mean by the end of the year?
By the end of the calendar year.
Well, you don't have to be at 30 by the end of the calendar year.
Yeah.
If you're at 30 by the end of the calendar year, you're the best team in the NBA. I don't think that's happening. What I think is January 7th, my guess is January 7th is your best opportunity to win 30 games for the first time. So that's not the end of the year. And I think you're probably somewhere in mid-January when you win 30 games. But I think your best case scenario is on January 7th. And I should look it up again, but where is January 7th? January 7th. That's December. January 7th, you're in Chicago. 6 o'clock tip-off. I think that's your first opportunity to win your 30th game. My opinion. And I'm obviously forecasting. I am not taking into account injuries. None of that. I'm just saying, if everybody's healthy and all things are equal, your first chance to win 30 games is January 7th at Chicago.
Yeah.
In the middle of a Houston, Chicago, Memphis trip. Oh, by the way, then you come home on January 10th to take on Don and the Cavs. Good luck.
Y'all want to play.
Good luck. You're not winning that game.
No, you're not.
You're not winning that game. Let's see. Brent Burnett says, forget NBA for Jimmer. It is what it is. Fat Jesus, who's in Cabo, by the way. I actually saw a picture of Fat Jesus for the first time yesterday.
That's a great comment.
On the beach in Cabo.
Dude, this guy's legit.
Jimmer is the Tim Tebow. His fans don't listen. Totally agree.
Like it's 100% true. And
Totally
I don't know
agree.
why we can't just be like, yeah, wow, that was Jimmer hit that game winner. It was pure. It was everything you want out of the JIMMER, and we're good to go. Like, I don't know why we can't just say that.
Brett Burnett says Jimmer has a family and is trying to get back to the U.S. Yeah, but I think Jimmer knows the NBA's done. Because, by the way, he's not 25 anymore.
Yeah, Jimmer knows he's got to get that bread while he can.
Yeah, I don't even know. How old is Jimmer Fredette?
He's got to be over 30 now.
Jimmer Fredette is 33 years old.
Yeah,
Come on. You know. Teddy Wayman says THT is only 21. Maybe Fizdale can develop him into something special. I like his game. I know everybody told me I was an idiot.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Where are all the haters now, man? When I told you THT is a legit guy.
Me?
Nah, he's fat. Okay, well, is he fat when he's dunking on people?
Fat.
Well, how many people over the summer when I said the Jazz should trade and you got to get THT from the Lakers? And people are like, oh, he's fat, you idiot.
Hey, it's first team All Zion.
You and him can hang out at the buffet, fat ass. Now where's all that?
Because
Where's all
it's
that?
garbage.
When he's throwing down dunks. Thank you, Teddy. Appreciate you.
I'm a man.
Let's see. Cheetle Bags. Okay. Says, I'm enjoying the Lakers losing as much as I'm enjoying the Jazz winning. That's exactly where you should be.
Dude, the account's name is Cheetle Bags.
Yes, Cheetle Bags.
Okay.
You know. That's fine. Brent Burnett says, Lakers about to hit the reset. Yep. That's terrifying.
Yep.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, I know what time it is.
Ken Williams says, Jimmer, LOL. Brandon Butler says, Super Soaker just drowning this conversation.
See, it wasn't me who brought it up. It wasn't me who brought it up today. I don't want to hear that. I didn't bring that up today, Tanner.
Tanner says, Brett Burnett was the one who brought it up, Jimmer, Brandon Butler. Okay. Let's see. Can my Monty Show nickname be Little Jizzy? Seth Anderson wants to know.
You got to change your name, bro.
Change your name.
Change your name, and you know.
Andy Yu says Monty Malik Beasley was averaging 21 points a game until he went to prison in 2020. Facts.
Yeah, a guy can produce.
I'm not saying the guy can't play, but he's that guy who you don't have to have, but another team wants. right? Malik Beasley's that guy. So we talk Utah Jazz basketball on the Monty Show, which is, as always, presented by the Advocates, UtahAdvocates.com. He's that guy that you don't have to have and everybody wants because he can shoot and he can contribute and he can handle a little bit.
Yep.
But if you have him, you don't mind having him. You don't want to trade him, but you would. That's who
Pause, bro. Pause.
That's who Malik Beasley is. You don't want to trade him, but you would because everybody wants him.
Yeah, I don't want to trade you, but you always end up in the trade package.
You know. Tanner says, again with Jimmer. Dude, do you have Jimmer underoos? Like, what is the Jimmer passion here? Jimmer couldn't even play defense in college. Love Jimmer, but he's not a fit for the NBA. Okay.
Never.
Alex Cooley, what's up, my guy? He says, what's Vanderbilt's comparison if he can hit threes at 40%? Oh, my God. Better than Draymond? I don't think
he's PJ Tucker on steroids, dude.
Yeah, he's not the defender that Draymond is or was in his prime because I think Draymond's out of his prime. Man, if he hits threes at 40%, anybody that hits threes at 40%, I don't see Vando's very mechanical. His shot's not pretty.
Yeah, it's not
those
fluid.
Those guys generally don't hit 40% from three. There's not much you can count on at a high percentage in your life where you're like, oh, yeah, that's a given. I mean, kind of like shopping at Barbecue Pit Stop where you know you're getting the best service, the best equipment. Come on, man. The Traeger, the big green egg,
Asado seasoning.
The Yoder smoker.
Yeah.
That's why you go to Barbecue Pit Stop. Our guys, like I said, Steve and the guys in Lehigh, chat with them online. That's the best. I think so many people have gotten used to now chatting with businesses online. And when you chat with the guys at Barbecue Pit Stop, you get a pretty quick answer. I think Lopes Van Gabe was telling me he was chatting with them at almost 10 o'clock at night. They answer you. And, hey, if you're going to smoke your turkey breast this year, hit them up. Clinton and Lehigh. They've got locations all across Utah, up and down the Wasatch Front, including Logan, Layton, Murray, which is their Salt Lake City store in Murray, Lehigh and St. George. I mean, they're just really good guys to do business with. And I know that they're opening up more stores, and I know that they're the best, but don't take my word for it. And it's that old axiom I always give you. Go and do it, and then tell me what you think. Go interact with the guys at bbqpitstop.com and tell me what you think. Tell them, hey, Monty said that you guys could tell me how to smoke my turkey on a Traeger smoker or a Yoder or a Big Green Egg or a Camp Chef. How do I do that? By the way, ask them, say, hey, I'm making a brisket this weekend. What do you think is the best pellet flavor for brisket? And they're going to tell you, hey, XYZ. Now I use cherry or competition pellets pretty much across the board. I think those two flavors are my favorite. But, hey, go get some pecan. Go get some, try the different stuff. And if you want to try something you don't know about it, you don't have to go into their stores. Chat with them online or go into their stores and say, hey, heard about you on the Monty Show, because you always tell everybody, hey, I heard about you on the Monty Show.
Yeah.
But the best part about Barbecue Pit Stop is not the very best barbecue equipment, smoking equipment in the business. You know that when you go to Barbecue Pit Stop. Best brands, best equipment. It's not that you can get every flavor, season, rub, spice, salt, pepper, garlic combination. You know that already. They've got every sauce, every wing dust, every season. The human beings that run Barbecue Pit Stop are great folks.
Yeah.
They're good dudes. They'll answer all your questions. They're passionate about the barbecue smoke business. Barbecue Pit Stop, bbqpitstop.com. Wow. Yeah, .com. Justin Salas gives us a $20 tip. My family always struggled this time of year growing up. Glad you guys are using your platform to help those in need. Wow, Justin, thank you for that.
Appreciate you, man.
I appreciate that very much. It is very humbling on this show to be able to give back. And it's guys like Justin, who, by the way, Justin, you're getting ready to move back to Utah, if I remember right.
Yeah, isn't it supposed to be soon?
I think it is.
I feel like we've been talking about that for a couple of weeks, but I think it's soon now.
Absolutely, it's soon.
Yeah.
When you get back, let us know. We'll buy you your first Papa Murphy's pizza.
Yeah.
Let's see. Andy Yu says, Alan Corbin, he spent 3 months in prison and then he saw his playing time decrease. You're talking about Malik Beasley.
See what he did there?
Malik Beasley.
You see what he did there?
When he was in prison, his playing
time decreased. He wasn't able to get on that Cantavius Caldwell Pope life,
Pied Piper. Okay. I loved watching the JIMMER, and I love that you spelled it out. Thank you. At BYU, but his last shot at the NBA was with Phoenix a few years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We were there with him when that was happening. Alan Corbin says, barbecue pit stop in Lehigh are my boys. They help me my barbecue addiction as a native Texan. Gotta love that.
Let's go.
Gotta love that. Golden State Warriors 30 says, mega love, shout out everyone. I appreciate you, man.
Yeah.
Thank you. But what is your thing with the Warriors? You still think they're the best team in the West?
Yeah, they are.
Why?
They're just playing crappy basketball because they have elite chemistry. They have a great system that's hard to defend. They're always moving. Like, if it was just Steph, okay, great. But somehow, some way, we find ourselves every year talking about how Andrew Wiggins went off for, 20 or 25 or whatever, and he was the, playoff MVP or whatever. You find yourself, looking at these different guys like Jordan Poole, the first time he went off was like this sensation. And now what has he turned into? A star for that team. He has turned into a key contributor for them. And I think that they just have this ability to develop guys and turn guys who are probably C+ prospects and turn them into guys who can contribute at an A+ level. And even if that contribution is just like, hey, we need you to be the best rebounder on the floor. I don't need you to shoot. I don't need you to pass. Just rebound the hell out of the ball for 5 minutes. Like, they are able to say, okay, hey, you're this guy. This is your assignment. We got to have you doing it at 100%.
But is Jordan Poole ever one of the best players in the NBA?
Yes.
A top 5 guy?
Yes.
No way.
Yes.
I don't think so. And I could be wrong. I could absolutely be wrong. I'm open to that. I mean,
he has Steph's range, and more importantly, he has Steph's ability to shoot it from that range, like to take that kind of shot. And then I think he's got a bigger body than Steph does. He's got more length. So like when you're learning from Steph Curry, like that's what goes unnoticed. That's the behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, listen. Yeah. Golden State Warriors 30 says, great live stream host. Very good. Well, thank you. And I'm good looking too.
Hey, he was talking about me.
He wasn't. He was clearly he was talking about me.
Are we clear on that?
You didn't even wear. By the way, somebody was pointing out earlier you wore gray again today. Like, what are you doing?
What do you mean I wore gray again? I wore black yesterday. What do you mean, dude?
You, man.
What do you mean?
I mean, that's embarrassing.
What are you talking about? I wore gray again.
Yeah, like why are you changing up the color palette? Look at that. I mean, put on some black.
I've been wearing black like every day the last 2 weeks.
Black is where it's at. Tanner Plummer, I'll put the Warriors are still the best team in the West. They'll eventually snap out of this funk. I would agree with that. Tom Basilius says, I'm so stoked for it. Glad there's another casual hyped with me. What are we
stoked for what?
Right there. U.S. versus Wales, Monday at noon. Let's get the dub, lads. It's time for Soccer World Cup. World Cup, let's go.
For the World Cup, yeah, that's going to be awesome.
I am really excited for it.
Yeah.
I am really, really, really excited for it. Tanner Plummer says, a bag alert drop? Dang, that's a blast from the past.
Hey, man.
A major bag alert?
I've got the archives.
He's got the archive.
Yeah, come on.
Alex Cooley says, Jordan Clarkson better than Jordan Poole.
No. Nope.
Yeah, that's not close.
Can't do it.
Jordan Poole every day. Brett Burnett says, Tom, I got distracted with the World Cup schedule. Big time sport worldwide. Yeah, absolutely. Razzle dazzle. I'm totally excited for it. Absolutely. Like, I think the World Cup is one of those. Like, are you going to watch the World Cup?
Yeah, for sure.
We have it on the TV on the tube.
I have no shame in saying I'm not a soccer guy. I'm not going to sit here and claim to be some expert on it, but I do enjoy. Like, this is my college football thing. I love big-time college football. I love big-time matchup. And I'm not just going to sit here and be like, oh, yeah, I'm only going to watch the U.S. team. Like, that's not, like, hey, hello?
My bad.
I'm not just going to watch the U.S. team. Like, I really enjoy watching, a lot of these teams. Like, Brazil, obviously, is super entertaining. Argentina. Like, there are a lot of great teams out there.
U.S. isn't going to... Anybody see Gareth Bale win the MLS Cup?
Do you know what that's like these days?
Yeah, LAFC.
Wait, did you say the MLS Cup?
I did. That's the.
Is that the one they play out on the the recess yard, or
that's the one they play for at MLS, man. My guy Reece James from Chelsea is hurt, so he's not going to be in the World Cup. That's a bummer.
Classic.
Nobody cares. 8:44, Monty in the morning, presented by the Advocates, UtahAdvocates.com. I think bottom line, to circle back on this Jazz thing.
Yeah.
By the way, they are a 3.5 point dog
Dog.
in Atlanta tonight. But look at the number, 226.5. By the way, let me ask you this question. Did you guys see that a couple of gambling referendums failed in California last night? Miserably, not close.
Yeah.
Should sports wagering, gambling be allowed at the federal level? Should we have federal legislation that allows sports gambling?
I think so, but it very much to me feels like another one of those situations where it's like, hey, you can go and do this if you want to do it. If not, no problem. Like, I don't know why. Like, it's one of my biggest gripes with Utah. You can't do sports gambling. You can't do you gotta back channel and overseas and like VPNs and you got to do all this scheming and I just don't understand it. Like, it could be a major revenue source for the state and they just don't do it.
Yeah, I think it'll probably not never. I don't think in my lifetime, and I'm 49 years old, and hopefully I got at least another 50 years to live. I don't think in my lifetime sports gambling will be allowed in Utah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't ever foresee like Powerball being allowed in Utah.
That's enough of that crap.
I don't think so.
I don't understand it. If someone wants to explain why, like, Powerball is a good example, why are we not able to play the lotto in Utah? Like, what is the
in California, the regulation problem? Everything's so heavily regulated. Like, I think they'll eventually figure it out in California. Arizona is different because the Indian tribes the just have so much sway and pull. Utah, it's just not. It's not. There are so many people here that think sports gambling is terrible, and
that's not what we're about.
I don't like one of the things I always say about sports gambling is, what freedoms do you want and not want? Could you make me a list? Because if you want to be free to gamble your money.
Yeah.
To drink beer, to own a firearm. Like,
yeah.
Freedom isn't free, right? I mean, it just.
Freedom is a matter of convenience.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, yeah, Brett Burnett says ban gambling as it is not needed, evil, and cause bad problems as it's addicting. Stop with the revenue source excuse. I don't even think it's a revenue source. I think it's a freedom. Yeah. And I think that when you look at the proliferation of sports gambling in this country,
yeah,
all you're doing is driving people underground to VPNs and to other states.
Yeah, like, if you think it's not happening, you're living under a rock. It's happening.
Why we don't have the public lottery here, I have no idea. Why we do not have Powerball and Mega Millions. Like, I've always loved this, with all due respect, Brent. Like, I've always loved this, it's killing people. It's evil, and it has caused people to be homeless. Yeah, and so has alcoholism, and so has drug addiction, and like, you can go to the worst of the worst on every issue, right? But the fact is, like what's caused people a lot of issues? Religion has caused a lot of people issues in this state, right? Like I can make a strong case that religion has negatively impacted a ton of people in this state, and I think a lot of people would agree with me. So that's what I'm saying. Like, it shouldn't be up to the state legislature whether there's gambling or not, because I got news for you. There is gambling. Whether you like that or not, like, just isn't of consequence. It's happening, and I have conversations about it with people all the time. Hey, what do you guys think of this or that, or over-unders or money lines or spreads, or what do you like? We do that all the time. Like, it's a natural thing in sports. Some people, and admittedly, I have no problem saying, I'm not someone who really enjoys gambling personally. I've never been a big, hey, let me go do this or that. Like, it's just not ever been my thing. Wow.
But
look at that. Teddy Wayman says it's legal in Arizona now, and just doing a quick search. Yeah, it's absolute sport. I had no idea.
Yeah. So, okay, great. It's legal in Arizona.
That is shocking.
See what I'm saying? Like, the thing that no one wants to talk about is that we're going to go all the way out to Wendover and do what we need to do there, and then we'll come back.
Which is crazy.
It's happening.
And
You're
it's not even that.
Opportunity.
It's not even that. It's like guys like us drive to Evanston instead of putting money into the local economy for gambling.
Why can't I get it at the local Maverick?
It's crazy to me that people think gambling doesn't happen here. We know guys who are like, hey man, what do you think of the game tonight? Like, we know people that are professional bookmakers. We like It's happening here. It's just underground. It's in the back alleys. Gumbylicious says, you know what could change the gambling laws in Utah? Voting. Oh, man. Coming up here in about 10 minutes, we're going to talk about whether or not you guys watched the elections last night. But, the thing about gambling is you need to go with a sure thing like football at 50, 10 to the hour, every hour. When we bring you the biggest stories in football, and it's not a gig. It's
time for me to get punched in the face over my opinions on the college football playoff.
Yeah, here we go. Let's talk college football playoff, brought to you by our good friends at Papa Murphy's Pizza. Make sure you download the Papa Murphy's app or get to papamurphyspizza.com. But I'm telling you, the app is the best way to do it. Order your pizza, and you can order it right now at 10 minutes to 9 o'clock Mountain Time.
How much did you lose by? Did you lose by 1 in overtime, or did you lose by 50 in regulation? I need to see that. And my problem is TCU hasn't played anybody. Ohio State hasn't played anybody. With all due respect, Michigan has no business being on the same football field as Georgia. That's just my opinion.
Wow.
So I look at Tennessee, and I say, yeah, you did lose to Georgia. Absolutely. But I felt like, hey, that's a great measuring stick. Tennessee is definitely not better than Georgia, but they're definitely a top 4 team in the country.
I think the biggest aberration or falsehood in college football is that the Big Ten is worth a damn. Because I'm telling you, it's one of the worst conferences.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
From a sporting aspect. Money-wise, different convo.
You look at the Big Ten West. The best team is 7-2 overall, 4-2 in conference. Who is that? Does anybody know who's leading the Big Ten West? If you said Iowa, you'd be absolutely wrong. It's Illinois.
Oh, I thought you said Illinois.
Illinois is 4-2 in conference, 7-2. Michigan's 6-0, 9-0, as is Ohio State. Their biggest wins are over 7-2 Penn State. And I'm just asking, why is Penn State a quality win? Why is Penn State a quality win? They've played Purdue, Ohio, Auburn. And we all know Auburn's trash, right?
Yeah.
Central Michigan, Northwestern. Michigan, they got blown out at the Big House. Minnesota, they lost to Ohio State. So the only 2 good teams they've played, they've gotten housed by them.
Yeah.
Just crushed. Why is Penn State considered a quality win? It shouldn't be. The Big Ten's a joke. And the idea that you're not, and this goes back to the Alabama argument, right?
Yes.
And by the way, this is going to probably resolve itself with Ohio State and Michigan in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
They play each other, so one of them is going to have a loss and probably be out. But is TCU a world beater? Colorado, Tarleton. Where's Tarleton at? Quick, go. Come on.
Yeah, it's in Timbuktu.
Texas. SMU. By the way, SMU is the one you should watch in the Pac-12. I'm telling you right now, everybody laughs at me every time I say this. SMU is legitimate in play for the Pac-12. SMU, Oklahoma. Oklahoma's a good win. Doesn't matter. Kansas is a good win this year. Oklahoma State, that's a good win. Kansas State, that's a good win. West Virginia in Morgantown, that's a good win. And Texas Tech at home. TCU has got the best resume of the bottom 5, in the top 5, the bottom 4. Anybody not Georgia. TCU should be number 2, not Ohio State and Michigan. TCU should not be out. They should be number 2.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, Ohio State and Michigan shouldn't even be in there.
TCU won't be in the college football playoff.
I think they will.
No.
How do you keep them out?
Because you have other teams. Like, look at if Oregon beats Utah, they're definitely
that's a big if.
Put them in. Right?
But look at LSU. Look at LSU. LSU just beat Alabama.
Yep.
They've got a win over number 7 Ole Miss. So back-to-back, they beat Ole Miss and Alabama. By the way, their only loss is to Tennessee of consequence, by the way. Their second loss was Florida State to open the season, 24-23. But who remembers that loss?
Right.
All you're going to remember is they beat Ole Miss and Alabama.
Are teams like Arkansas, are middle-of-the-road SEC teams better than teams like, those Big Ten teams?
I think Arkansas. The problem is Arkansas lost those 3 straight games. One of them obviously was to Alabama, and they got boat raced. They lost that shootout to Texas A&M. And they lost to Mississippi State, but they beat BYU, Auburn, and they lost to Liberty.
Yeah.
So now I don't know. Is Liberty a good loss? Well, guess what? Arkansas's got redemption on their mind when they play home for LSU, home for Ole Miss, and they finish at Missouri.
Yeah.
So, but Arkansas's got a chance to really be a determining factor because they're in the SEC.
Yeah.
LSU belongs in the conversation because of the wins they've gotten. But I don't know. Do they run the table? We'll see. If LSU's legit, they're going to win those games, right? I would think that they would.
I don't know, man. I look at some of these other options like, okay, let's set TCU to the side. Cool. Put TCU in there, whichever slot you want to put them in. Okay, great. Like, not having Tennessee in the college football playoff is like just a disservice to the sport. Like they have been a great story this year.
I just don't think that Tennessee's got a shot. First of all, you're in the SEC East with Georgia. Georgia's winning that division. It's not even a conversation, right? Unless Georgia somehow, and I don't see this happening, unless Georgia trips and falls over Mississippi State, Kentucky, and Georgia Tech, which there is no way that's happening.
Nah.
But if you look at it, Georgia's 9-0 on top of the East, and LSU. I mean, really, Ole Miss is the only one that's got, in my opinion, a chance at catching LSU. But Ole Miss has Alabama, Arkansas, and Mississippi State.
Yeah.
So is this where Ole Miss goes to die? Because I have a real problem thinking that Alabama's going to lose back-to-back huge games.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I mean, that's going to be tough. Alabama have a way back home? I don't think so.
No.
Does Alabama have a way back to the college football playoff? I don't think there's any chance they're ninth. But now if USC and LSU loses,
a two-loss team, right?
They're a two-loss team.
Yeah.
If they win out and USC loses to UCLA.
And you'd need Oregon to lose.
And Oregon loses to Utah. But but again, are you taking a two-loss Oregon team or a two-loss Bama team?
Bama.
Taking a two-loss Bama team.
Yeah.
This
is Coach Saban.
Are you taking a two-loss Bama team or a one-loss Big Ten champion? I'm probably taking a one-loss Big Ten champion.
Yeah.
I don't know any other way around that.
That's what I mean
right?
about college football, dude. Like,
Yeah, I don't see any way that TCU doesn't make it.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't see if they make it. I really don't. But we'll see. BYU is not a good win for Arkansas. Okay, but they won the game. Alan Corbin says SMU wouldn't fill up their stadium if they joined the Pac-10. They don't move the needle in Dallas. Au contraire, mon frere. They have a small but mighty alumni base, and they have a ton of money. A ton of money. And if you put them in the Pac-10, Pac-12, and we should talk about the TV deal. I think SMU's the team to watch in the Pac-12. Honest to goodness.
Yeah.
I don't know that San Diego State's willing and able or wanting. I mean, everybody assumes that the Pac-12 invites San Diego State, they're going to say yes. I wouldn't be so quick to say yes.
Yeah, I don't. Why would you? Why would you jump into that situation?
I think it's all about what you get for joining the conference.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of questions there. You never question what you get at Papa Murphy's, though.
Papa Murphy's presents How to Change the Way You Pizza. Step 1, carefully knead dough. Step 2, artfully spread sauce. Step 3, add fresh mozzarella and assemble toppings. Step 4, realize we already did all that for you, so all you have to do is bake it. For a limited time only, get the Hog Heaven Pizza with Canadian bacon, ground sausage, and crispy bacon. Papa Murphy's, change the way you pizza.
There you go, Papa Murphy's Pizza. Use the promo code Monty25 to get 25% off your purchase of $25 or more at Papa Murphy's Pizza. The Monty Show presented by the Advocates, UtahAdvocates.com. If you're one of the 126 people here right now, please give us a thumbs up. It really helps the channel grow. We're trying to get to 10,000 by the end of the year. If you hate us, give us a thumbs up. If you like us, give us a thumbs up. Well, I mean, if you're middle of the road and you're like, take it or leave it, which nobody is. But yeah, go ahead and give us a thumbs up. It really helps the channel grow. We try to really get to 100 likes every single show. So if you could help and push us forward on that, we're at 71 likes right now. So please do give us a thumbs up. That would really help. Okay, real quick, because we don't have a lot of extra time today. On this Pac-12 thing, everybody's assuming that San Diego State's going to say yes. I would not assume that. And I think all of these people reporting, hey, they're going to announce a TV deal this week in San Diego. How are they going to do that without knowing where UCLA is going? And I know I've beat this drum 1,000 times. Tell me again how the Pac-12 can act without knowing what UCLA is doing. Tell me how that works, because I don't see how that works. Look at both sides of the UCLA coin here. They're going to have a Board of Regents meeting, the UC, the University of California Education System, Board of Regents, who governs the schools in the UC system, UCLA, is going to make a decision next week on whether or not UCLA will get their approval to go to the Big Ten. If they say no, UCLA is likely to litigate it. If they say yes, okay, well, UCLA's in the Big Ten and it's nothing to talk about. But how do you make a TV deal if you're ESPN? Not knowing whether UCLA is staying or going. You don't. How are you, as Washington, going to sign a grant of rights in the Pac-12 if you don't know if UCLA is in or out? Well, you're not gonna. And if you're San Diego State, how are you going to sign on to the Pac-12 if you don't know if you're going to own Southern California in the conference or not? Well, you don't. So I think the Pac-12 is in limbo. And as it's been explained to me repeatedly this week, they are hanging on by their hair on their chinny chin chin, hoping that UCLA gets forced to stay, which is why Pac-12 Commissioner George Kliavkoff has been doing this hit piece on UCLA every single chance he gets. The conference isn't doing anything until the UCLA decision is made. And as we told you yesterday on the show, they've had conversations with San Diego State, and they have, in phone conversations and in meetings, told San Diego State they would like to add them to the conference. San Diego State has not accepted. They have not declined. They have not anything. They have had the meetings, which is exactly what they should do. But sources have told me that SMU is very much in play for the Pac-12 and certainly for the Big 12. Now, Brett Yormark has said the only way we're going to expand is if we add a time zone. Well, that doesn't mean that would be the only team. Let's say San Diego State. Let's say one of the California teams in the Pac-12. That doesn't mean that's the only team they're going to add, right? SMU, for everything they're not when it comes to size and totality of alumni, SMU's got a ton of money. They're an excellent institution for education. They tick just about every box. They bring you more of Dallas, but I understand that. You have a lot of Texas in the Big 12 already with TCU, so you get the Metroplex. You've got Houston. You've got Texas Tech. Totally understand that. But if you think that the Big 12 is going to sit by and watch as the Pac-12 swoops up San Diego State and SMU, you're crazy. The Big 12's not sitting by and watching anything. And I will again say, and I know everybody, every time I say this, oh, Monty, you're an idiot. You don't know anything. Nobody wants SMU. Every time I bring this up, because we've been told this repeatedly and for months, that SMU is open. SMU would like to be in a P5 conference. And SMU would certainly accept a bid from the Big 12. Will they accept a bid from the Pac-12? I'm not sure. I don't know. But that SMU is one of the hottest commodities in the college football expansion market, and I think it makes a lot of sense. They have a very good history in football. They have a very good academic program. I mean, what they offer in law alone is phenomenal, and they have a lot of money. Their alumni, their donors, there's a lot of money there. So I don't see how you say no to SMU.
Yeah.
That, in my opinion anyway. And by the way, if I am the Pac-12, you better be ready to act. And I think that's why you're hearing all of these rumors. When that UCLA decision comes down, they've got to be able to hit the gas the minute that it comes down, good or bad. If UCLA's gone, they have to immediately act to secure San Diego State. They have to. They have to immediately act to secure San Diego State by firstly getting a TV deal done. Because they have to understand, one of the biggest issues right now is what is going to happen with the Pac-12's Tier 1 rights. Because my guess is it's not going to wind up on ESPN. I think ESPN would be thrilled to be a Tier 2 partner. To be a 30% stakeholder in the Pac-12, I think ESPN would be thrilled with that. I really do. They've already got the SEC. They've got the bulk of the Big 12's football business. I think they'd like a little bit of the Pac-12, basketball and football. And I think that's why I continue to say I think the Pac-12 is a stream league. That's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, I agree with everything you're saying there. I think it makes perfect sense. And yeah, I think I don't know why people struggle with the concept that nothing's going to happen until, distributors, the Amazons, the ESPNs, those folks who are going to distribute your product know how many teams you have. Like, it's not a hard concept to understand.
Yeah, Tanner, are you really questioning whether giggity is a reference to Family Guy? Are you? You got to play the drop. Like, are you? Do you really think his parents named him Giggity?
Hey guys,
are you kidding me? No,
hey guys,
they did not. Tanner. Brent Burnett says, you guys are making me hungry again. I am starving right now.
Tell us about it.
Matt Ritson says, Utah should crush Stanford. Stanford hate fun. Stanford terrible. Stanford's not a good football program right now. Brett Burnett says, thumbs up. Appreciate that. Gumbylicious says, you got this. You got this. You got this.
Hey guys.
Exactly. Gumby also says, November 17th, Judgment Day for UCLA. Hopefully. I mean, I just don't see any way the Board of Regents force them to stay.
Yeah.
I could see them.
You're really with the financial position you're in, you're really going to want to litigate with UCLA.
Yeah,
really?
And by the way, there are also some people who keep whispering in my ear that the Big Ten is still trying to figure out the Bay Area schools in the Oregon, Washington, Cal, Stanford grouping. But I just don't know how you add those 4 schools without Amazon. If you have a stream deal, you can afford to add those schools. There is not any way, shape, or form that you are going to add those schools without an injection of cash, because you're not going to shrink the pie for every member to add 4 more schools. That makes no sense at all. No sense whatsoever. I think they have to, and there is no guarantee, and I don't know this to be fact. I've been told several different things, but my feeling is there is no guarantee that they get more money from their TV partners, because I don't think their TV partners have more money to put into a deal.
Yeah.
So I think it's a stream deal with Amazon. Amazon is such an important figure in college football right now. I'm telling you. Brett Burnett says UCLA is Big Ten. Board of Regents can't stop them as they gave them a finger. I think the Board of Regents could, but it's going to be a legal process.
I just don't know why you would. Like, it's such a long, drawn out thing if you decide to do that.
Giggity says, "Come on, man. Of course, Tanner. Giggity is a reference to Family Guy."
Yes.
Of course it is. I think somebody asked. Several people have asked where Mrs. Monty is. She has a very she's a career-minded woman, so she has a very busy week at work. But we miss Mrs. Monty on the show as well.
Yeah.
Hopefully she'll be back next week. Brent Burnett says San Diego State will be lucky to get out of the Mountain West. Not lucky. I think the Big 12 and the Pac-12 will fight for San Diego State.
Yeah.
I do. I don't think there's any doubt about it. Brent Burnett says Pac is screwed. Next. Kay Nuren says the Big 12 will take San Diego, Oregon State, and Washington State. Also the Zags.
God, why? See, why make me do this?
Gonzaga.
Why make him play that?
Gonzaga.
Justin Saul says, love that your show goes a bit later. Gives me something to listen to as I'm going through emails and admin work first thing in the morning. Yeah, we don't really have an ending time.
Yeah.
Math Boy says Giggity could be a real name. Just saying.
Guy.
Giggity is a family.
All due respect.
Giggity's a Family Guy. Do I have to explain that? Bill Talon says high school games in Texas draw much better than SMU. Their stadium is empty unless they're playing other Texas schools. They're a non-factor. Okay. Well, they're a non-factor that's going to be a P5 program after about the next, I would guess in the next 6 weeks, we'll have clarity on all this. That would be my guess. Kay Nuren says, yes, the red wave is real.
Here we go.
Are you talking about the election? Because no,
it's not.
It's not real, actually. Fat Jesus says, my real name is Fat Jesus. Yeah, we looked. He sent us. He sent us, when he sent us Obama's birth certificate, he also sent his own, and it did say Fat Jesus on it.
That's right, T.
Math Boy says Fat Jesus is healthy. Teddy says my real name isn't Teddy. I love it. Math Boy says casuals are so last decade. Identify as a sovereign and demand my own bathroom. Okay.
Well,
I mean, we all have things that we want.
On that note.
Gummalicious says my preferred outcome is that UCLA provided some Cal money to the Bears of Berkeley. I think that's what's going to happen. They're going to wind up stipending Cal.
See what he did there, though? Calimony?
Yeah, calimony.
Yeah.
Tanner Plummer says, well, math boy, when it comes to me, they casuals. You got to play the new drop for Tanner. Come on, man.
Oh, that drop.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Oh my God, just like that. Oh,
Tanner's new drop here.
oh my God, just like that.
That's awesome. Boyd Lake says Gonzaga.
Gonzaga.
And if you don't know why we're talking about this, we said Gonzaga last week.
Gonzaga.
And us alumni were like, hey, man, listen.
Hey, guys.
Hey, guys. And it always starts this way, right?
Hey, guys.
Like, hey, guys.
Hey, guys.
I love the show.
I love that everyone says that. They got to get that out of the way first. Okay, so my complaint isn't coming, but I love the show.
I love the show. It's great. You guys are amazing. But fucking say Gonzaga. I mean Gonzaga. No, wait, I'm confused. I'm an alumni. I spent my money there, and I don't know what the name is.
Gonzaga.
I must have got 3, 4, 5 direct messages. Hey, dude, look, man. I paid money to go to Gonzaga. And you'll say it right. It's Gonzaga.
Gonzaga.
So this girl hits me up on DM, and she's like, listen, I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to help. But are you just being a dick by saying Gonzaga? Because it's Gonzaga.
Gonzaga.
It doesn't look like Gonzaga. She literally writes, it doesn't look like Gonzaga, does it? ZAG equals Zag.
Gonzaga.
And the funniest part of this whole thing is we went and did research on it. And on Google, that voice you hear saying Gonzaga, that's the Google pronunciator.
Gonzaga.
How do you pronounce this word, Google?
Gonzaga.
What do you want from me?
Yeah. I don't know.
Nobody calls them the Zogs, do they? I got that like 10
Gonzaga.
times too. That's Zags. Who's the idiot that would say Zogs? You're dumb. Your show sucks. But wait, you just said you love the show.
Oh my God, just like that.
No, it sucks. Okay, so I'll say Gonzaga. Man, your show's amazing.
Oh my God, just like that.
Greg says, my favorite thing on this stream right now is watching my Cougar friends pick and choose who to bring in the conference they haven't played in yet.
Gonzaga.
That's so true. Oh, that is so true.
Man.
Oh, Kenai says, I just bought my tickets for the Pistons game. Me and my son and daughter will be there. Nice. That's amazing, dude. Yeah, go Bulls. Boyd Lake says, Googly Moogly is my name too. He's pretty great. Oh, Teddy Wayman says, wait, you mean the Super Soaker drop?
Oh my God, just like that.
Hey, man. Tanner, I don't want to hear anything on Twitter. I didn't bring up the Super Soaker today.
That's so good. Jerem Patterson says, cue the, oh my God, yeah, ga, yesterday's show.
Oh my God, just like that.
It's so good.
Yeah.
It is so good. Tanner said, you can play that drop all day, all you want, Jake, but it won't change what's on the tape.
But you keep saying that. I don't know what that means. Is that a reference to the fact that I agree that your new nickname was Super Soaker?
Fat Jesus says, hey guys. I love the show, but I hate how much you talk about the Jazz, BYU, food, and reading chats. But I love the show.
Oh
exactly.
My God, just like that.
Exactly. Man, I love this show. But if you could not talk about the Jazz or BYU or Utah.
Gonzaga.
I mean, if you could also please, you're just libtards. Can you not talk about politics?
Are we clear on that?
How dare you rip Chick-fil-A? I love the show, but you can't rip Chick-fil-A.
Obviously not.
Tanner says, I hate that drop.
Oh my God, just like that.
Oh, man.
Oh, maybe that's the right way to end the show today.
Dude, this used to be Tanner's drop.
That's right, T.
This was Tanner's drop.
That's right, T.
Right?
That's right, T.
A drop
he
from
goes
the
from
Sopranos.
This. You went from the Sopranos.
A gangster drop from the Sopranos.
Oh my God, just like that. Oh.
Love you, Tanner.
Oh, you're a
Love
legend,
you,
bro.
Living legend on
Oh
the show.
my
dude.
God, Tanner, you are. I swear, Tanner, you are a legend, dude. You are absolutely a legend. Oh, Cody Strickland said, did we talk about the election yet? No, it's not over yet.
Nah, I'm fine. I'm good.
Tomorrow. Tanner says, no, Jake. The tape clearly shows that Alex Chacon was the one that brought up the Soaker nonsense, and you, Jake, were the one who lives it, gives it.
Oh my God, just like that. Oh.
Come on, the fire hose gif on Twitter yesterday was funny.
He said you're the one who gives it oxygen.
Hey, man, you know.
Oh, my God. Tanner, dude, I'm serious. You are with so much of what's right with this show. You're just...
That's right, T.
I love you, dude. I do. And I'm not even joking. You just are... You're so amazed. Tanner says, I'm not a legend. I'm just good for laughs in your minds. No, you're not.
Oh, don't get all salty. Come on. You know...
Guy. Dude, you're the best, man. Come on. Breathe. All right, we got to go.
I love that show.
I do. I love that show. And by the Tanner's called in to other shows and gone on to Twitter Spaces and said that are being bullies and having fun. And
sorry if you're offended by
that. You know, Fat Jesus says Tanner is first ballot Hall of Famer only listener with a drop.
It's
exactly
true.
right.
It's actually true, though.
Exactly right.
He doesn't have just one drop. He has two now. You know what I mean?
That's right, T.
Math Boy says Tanner gets love here.
Yeah,
he does. And Tanner's like, I'm not salty. I'm just stating a fact.
Yeah, okay.
Jake, you're the one that gave life to it.
Just like that. Oh.
I am on the train and I am raging. Oh, hey, look.
Macho Man Randy Savage.
But look, there's Rio Tinto Stadium. Rio T, baby.
Why aren't they playing soccer there anymore?
It's not Rio T anymore.
Hey, guys.
Anyway. All right. 2 drops is amazing. It is.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It is. Tanner, I love you. I love you, dude. All right, we'll be back tomorrow morning. Thanks to everybody. Thanks again for all the tips, the donations. Hey, all 122 of you who haven't yet, please give us a thumbs up. We're at 77 likes. We're trying to get to 100 on every show. Thanks so much, Tanner. You're my guy. I love you, buddy. Until tomorrow, say goodbye, Jake.
Goodbye, Jake.
Oh, wait, I can't go yet because, wait, hold on. Hold on. I have to do this right here. Until tomorrow, say goodbye, Jake.
Goodbye, Jake.